What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
All right, Diesel heads, it's episode 22 of the Chronicles of Diesel, the only show that explores everything Vin Diesel, his movies, his games, his soundtracks, and even his own music that might happen eventually in terms of like a full album release. My name is Ethan, and with me here is Devin. I did not forget our names this time.
This quote that I'm about to say, for me, I think of one of our favorite U.S. presidents also saying, "We're going to the Middle East."
Yeah. There was even a joke in the movie about hiding missiles under one of the girls' dresses. I'm like, wow.
And there was also a joke about, we would have found Osama bin Laden so much quicker if we had this technology. And it's like, no, I think the United States always knew. But
I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about that. But my favorite part about that scene is like when Kurt Russell's like, you know, this would be devastating in the wrong hands. And my question is it in the right hands? Like
he's loosely. They don't really make it clear to me. Is he in the United States?
I have no idea. And same thing with
part of the United States, like federally, or is he? Just
I don't think so. And it's the same thing with Hobbs. Hobbs is also a third party. He's not a government
agent.
Honestly,
I'm okay with him having it. If that's the case, as long as it's not tied to any government.
But that's my thing is even if he is the government, I'm like, that doesn't mean it's the right thing. I feel like half of these Marvel movies that come out nowadays are like, this technology is so dangerous, give it to the government.
Give it to
this cube of energy that can destroy New York City, let's give it to the government to keep it safe. All that type of stuff. We're talking obviously about Furious 7, the 2015 Fast and Furious film. It is the main topic of today's episode, along with a couple of, I would say, period pieces, in a sense. Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again, the music video that ends the film. But the actual music video itself is what we're going to talk about, as well as the Universal Orlando and Universal Hollywood ride, Fast and Furious Supercharged. Talk about all three of those things because Vin Diesel's credited in all three. Probably could have taken a credit out of one of them, in my opinion. But yeah, before we talk about these 2015 super beats, let's hop back into last year in December. Man, it's already been one day since 2021.
You did the one joke that we got to do every year.
Yeah.
Last year, because my brain.
I haven't showered since last year. Let's talk about what Vin Diesel has done last year, last month.
All right, everybody. If you're new to this show, every month when we do this, I recap the previous month on VNN, the Vin News Network. I was thinking about this earlier. It really should be VDNN, Vin Diesel News Network, because that implies that we cover all Vin, like people named Vin news.
Vincent D'Onofrio News Network. He's also a VDNN, so.
Exactly. But regardless, and how we usually look at the news is I just do a Google search. I look on Instagram as our primary source of information because it comes straight from the man himself most times. Like last month, or 2 months ago now at this point, last episode rather, we might have had the start of new beef between him and The Rock, but The Rock hasn't bit. The Rock hasn't bit so far this month.
I was curious.
That was the biggest.
I
would say I'm going to quickly say that to start off is that I have not seen, at least of this recording, we have not heard or seen any updates on the potential beef starting again. The Rock seems to just not give a shit, or maybe he's trying to be the bigger person and not respond. Maybe they are talking to one another and everything's chill and he's going to be a cameo in the movie. Who knows? But at least publicly speaking, there hasn't been any statements, backlashes, dunkings of any kind.
Let's all bring Vin Diesel around and give him a communal dunking. Yeah. I was going to say, is this the start of a new reoccurring segment called Beef Watch?
We could do Beef Watch, and that doesn't describe their bodies.
One more than the other, sure. And maybe that's where the feud begins.
But yeah, I'll start with Instagram. I will say that doing a quick Google search, the only thing that really came up is a James Gunn tweet, but we'll talk about that in a second because it's real quick. But I want to focus on our big stuff on his Instagram. He does have a Facebook, by the way. I always forget to mention that, but he basically never posts on there, so it isn't worth talking about. So on Instagram, we've been tracking his follower count for the last year and a half at this point. I don't know. I've lost count. I should have made an Excel sheet for this to add to our personal social media spreadsheet that we have for this show. So last month he was at our last episode. He was at 76.5 million followers, and this month he's at 77.5. So he's creeping up there.
Okay.
So he might finish. Well, he only has a couple days, so maybe not. I was gonna say maybe he gets to 78, but we'll see if he gets to that in the next
What do you
days.
think would happen if he ever starts like losing followers? Like it goes down.
I just don't think that's gonna. I don't think it's possible. Like he can't like. Even if you believe in like cancel culture, like
I don't even mean anything like that. It's just like people are like, oh yeah, I
that's what I'm
follow
saying.
too many people.
The only way I feel like he can lose followers is if like something really shitty came out.
Okay.
Or he's quote unquote canceled. But even when you're canceled,
you're
still
more
get
famous than you
shows.
ever were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see it going down. And if it did go down, we're talking minuscule. Like I probably won't even be able to notice because I just do 77.5. If I hover over, I think it gives me an exact number. Yeah, 77,570,614. So like maybe it'll fluctuate throughout the day, but yeah, he's getting money. But yeah, so his follower count went up. We're still on the pace to 100 mil. Can't wait for that day. It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be the big breaking news. But overall, he did a lot less posts than he did last month. Last month, he exceeded in posts than he normally does. This month, he went back to his average of around 10 to 13. He hit 13 posts this month, I believe, if I counted correctly. But not anything really big breaking news. He keeps teasing Riddick. I'll say that. He keeps teasing Riddick. Every month, he does a post being like, oh, I'm speaking to Universal about Riddick. I'm talking to this person about Riddick. So either I'm assuming they're still just like in a pre-production kind of phase, maybe talking about the script, maybe talking about budgeting, maybe talking actors who they're trying to get. Who knows? We can be here all day trying to guess what at what point in the process is this movie happening. But it does sound like this movie is happening because I think it'd be pretty shitty of him that like if he keeps teasing us out throughout the last year and then we get nothing ever again. Like it'd be kind of bullshit.
Right.
Especially after how the last one, how we really liked that one. I'm excited for a fourth one. He did some videos of his family. His one kid went go-karting and is trying to beat the record there. But one of the posts that I shared with you earlier was of his daughter and how... so long story short, his daughter was one of the bridesmaids of Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow Walker. She just got married, and a couple months ago there was pictures that came out of Vin being leading her out to the altar, like usually the father does. So he did that for her since Paul Walker passed away. So like he did a whole long thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he did mention that like when they were filming Fast 4, Vin Diesel was it was hard for him to get into character and like focus because a baby was on the way and he didn't know what to do. And Paul Walker told him like, hey, you need to be there for them. You need to, be in the room with her. He even mentioned cutting the umbilical cord and all that. It's like being the father there for them and saying that like, don't worry about this. And then, so that wound up happening and he was kind of reminiscing with that. Seeing his daughter with his daughter at the wedding and how he was reminiscing through that. And like a lot of the Fast and Furious crew was commenting on that post. You even have Paul Walker's brother, Cody Walker. We'll get into more info in a second because I think it's the first time I've really seen him and actually kind of relates to what the movie we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Hugely, actually. So it's kind of crazy that he wrote this post when we're talking about this movie. But Cody Walker wrote, "The first child, I loved the story each time." Jordana Brewster did a bunch of heart emojis. Meadow Walker said, "Love, love, love you, and my sister and family, heart." Tyrese wrote, so great, so beautifully spelled out. We have to continue to love our angels, protect them at all costs. Ludacris commented with dove emojis. So like everyone
making fun of Tej or making fun of Roman,
yeah,
just in character, out of character.
Yeah. But no, like everyone was there, and like it just goes to show that I think that like despite the beef between The Rock and Vin Diesel in the past, that like at least like the main cast, because let's be real, The Rock kind of wasn't there from the beginning. I'm saying like the main cast of characters, they actually like do kind of see each other as like a family in terms of maybe not to the same literal like they're hanging out every day, but like you know what I mean, that like they seem to actually care about one another and are tied to one another through this franchise. So I found that this post very interesting, and also it's one of the first posts that since we've started doing this where he wrote like I feel like he was being like real shit, like really like showing his. I mean, he's always been a kind of a soft spoken, showing his personal side a lot on Instagram, but like this one I think was just like, especially since we just watched the movie, I think it just kind of hit me a little bit more, being like Vin fucking loved Paul Walker and loves, legitimately no bullshit, loves everyone who in Fast and Furious, even probably The Rock to a certain extent, despite the beef. I would imagine that's what it just comes across as. A couple other pictures, but then there's a video and a picture. The video is him and Cody Walker together at something called Fuel Fest, which is, I guess, something in the name, or maybe something that Paul Walker started, where people, I guess it's kind of like Race Wars to a certain extent, but I don't think without the racing, it's more just like a car show. From my understanding, I was trying to do research and do it, but I want to do more of a deeper dive. I think I want to like come back to you next month with a much more, just a whole little section on it, because I honestly think that if like this is something that happens every year, bitch, we need to go. Because but like there's people here, and Vin Diesel's doing a video with Cody Walker, and Cody Walker saying thanks everyone for showing up and whatnot. This really means a lot to him, and in remembrance of his brother and whatnot. And there was a picture of him again, Cody Walker, hugging Vin, who's wearing a nice leather jacket that says "One" from One Race on the back. And I'm like, that's tight. That's tight. And there's Tyrese, and then Tyrese is there too, smiling in the background as well. And then he wrote on this post, Vin Diesel wrote, "Fuel Fest is the biggest car show in the world. It will be. Build everything in your life out of love. Pro tip: hashtag at Fuel Fest, at Cody Walker, at Tyrese." And then Cody wrote, "The camera caught a real one right here. Thank you for always believing in me, supporting me, and most importantly, helping to keep a legacy alive." Then Tyrese commented, "Cody was moved to tears yesterday, big bro. 8 years later, we're still all feeling the loss of our brother P-Dub," with Paul Walker. Hashtag Fuel Fest has really created a movement. Cody's making us all so very proud for running with the car culture and doing it his way. Love you. Love your heart, big bro. Arizona, thank you guys. F10 is up next. 8 years, PW. We miss you every day. So this was on like the anniversary of Paul Walker's death.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but so like they wrote on there, and like once again, like I said, it's cool at the other, like Tyrese and whatnot. You might like some of these, we've seen the franchises, whether it's a Star Wars or whatnot. Everyone's, oh, we're a family, blah blah blah, but like they don't come together and do this kind of shit.
Right.
I'm not talking red carpet. Like this is like no one had to technically go to this. Not even Vin Diesel, right? But Vin Diesel legitimately gives a shit about Paul Walker and his family. I mean, we know he adopted one of his kid and whatnot, who just got married. But still, like just seeing that, and like you could, and like even watching this movie again, which we'll talk about in a second, you could tell he like that, like he really just gives a shit, and this isn't just for show. Like he literally lost like one of his best friends. So
it shows in the movie, it shows in how they marketed it, and it shows in the box office.
Yeah,
which we'll talk about.
Then he did 2 videos of him starting off. One of them he starts working out, then talks, and the other one he is talking about something, and then he starts working out, kind of like kind of reverse. But both are looking like he's working out late at night, and he mentions in both videos that it's been a crazy week for him. He's trying to finish out these last couple things for the new year, before the new year. One of them mentions he went to Jordan Brewster's wedding, and she made him do a speech, and he was able to speak from the heart. I thought it was great. Another one he talked about, once again, Riddick as well, working on that. And I'm assuming Fast and Furious. Then his very latest video is he's next to like a plane. I'm assuming his private jet or some shit. And he's like, yeah, me and my family just came from a vacation in the northern he said northern forest or something like that. So I'm assuming like northeast, maybe like a Vermont or something like that. I'm not sure, but he said how much fun it was, and how appreciative he was of it. And he says he's like, I also thought of all you guys, and hope to show you, share more with you soon, or whatever that means. So yeah, that's pretty much VNN. Oh no, sorry, I mentioned it earlier. James Gunn did a one-off tweet. James Gunn, I go back and forth of whether or not, like, I think he's a good dude. He makes great movies, but sometimes like he'll say shit on Twitter and then wonder why people are saying shit about like the movies he makes.
Okay.
So I think he's like, to me, like he seems to get mad at people's like rumors about the movie, but then
misinformation he gets really pissed about, for sure.
But then he adds to it by like, you can't explain everything in 164 characters. But someone asked him like, oh, did Glenn Howerton and Rob McConnelly audition for Star-Lord? He said, he just tweeted, if Rob did, I don't remember, but Glenn Howerton did, and he was probably my second choice for Star-Lord. Then he did a second tweet, like directly replied to his own tweet, and said, Twitter has spit some absolutely ludicrous numbers for how much Vin gets paid to play Groot. Not that he's not worth it, but come on. And this was, he quote tweeted also in that, what's the weirdest news story or fact about Guardians of the Galaxy you've seen that isn't even remotely based in reality? Is Adam Sandler up there? That's what he replied to with that. So, like,
gotcha.
How I read that is, one, any salary numbers you've seen for what Vin gets for that movie is probably bullshit. And also sounds like he doesn't get paid as much. Sounds like less than what you would think.
I could see that. I mean, he was added in late to the production of that movie. He's a voiceover along with Bradley Cooper, which last month we revealed Bradley Cooper made more money off of that movie than his previous two ones combined. But he's speaking, and Vin Diesel is inflection on the same three words over and over again. So I can easily see that being like, here's a weekend of filming for you, in quotes, or you're just in the studio kind of talking. I could see that. But he also did the motion capture stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, wanted to share that because I guess that's been a rumor, I guess, people cared about, how much Vin Diesel gets paid for these movies. I can guarantee you it's more than you'll ever make.
For sure.
In your entire life.
For sure.
No matter what you do. But yeah, generally speaking, just wanted to share that because I thought it was, like I said, clear up any of the rumors, and I just thought it was interesting. I guess, assuming Vin's going to be the next one, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's it for me then. VNN for you.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, DVN, Devin. Let's talk about Furious 7 now. So this movie started production in 2013 with a release date of 2014. Initially, it was supposed to be written and then also like filmed and post-production along with Fast and Furious 6. Like they were both supposed to be done at the same time, kind of like a Lord of the Rings type of scenario where it's just one consistent evolving project. But Justin Lin didn't want to do that, and just overall it didn't work out with the different locations that they were going to be doing. Fast 6 was a lot of London. This one had Middle East, and as well as they were filming in Colorado and Atlanta and LA as well. Didn't work out. Weather was an issue for them, so they just said, you know what, let's split up into two regular movies like normal. Justin Lin always says that 4, 5, and 6 was supposed to be his trilogy, so to speak, and he was going to be done, but this was supposed to still hook into the 6th one and continue it. So he didn't continue. He is not the director of of Furious 7. James Wan is the director. This is his first movie he's done outside of horror movie stuff, and I didn't look into what he's done, unfortunately. And the only reason why Justin Lin didn't come back for this one is that production and all that stuff started while he was doing post-production on the sixth one, and he didn't want to ruin his already done work for this movie that hadn't even really been started yet. When it did come out, well, actually, hold on, let me say this as well. Vin Diesel has this to say about the two movies together. He says, we have to pay off this story. We have to service all of these character relationships. And when we started mapping all that out, it just went beyond the 110 pages. The studio said, you can't fit all that story in one damn movie. That's Vin Diesel's quote about it. But yeah, no, they split it up. And it's a good, because if it had been accelerated and filmed earlier, The Rock wouldn't be in it, because he was filming Hercules at the time, and he slid into production kind of a little bit after they started filming, because it worked out for him this way.
Yeah, I'm glad The Rock is in this movie. Once again, Rock,
even though he's not in it all that much, and you could have told me, if you had told me, or if I had told you, I guess, that he's not in it as much because he was filming another movie, it would make sense. But I feel like the way this movie kind of went, it made sense to kind of put him on the back burner a little bit until the ending. So this movie, well, let's talk about Paul Walker before we get into when this movie eventually does come out. But yeah, movie starts production in 2013. On November 30th of 2013, Paul Walker died, and the movie was delayed. It was initially supposed to be a 2014 film, but would be delayed indefinitely. They needed to rewrite stuff. They didn't want to kill his character off or do anything. They needed to find a way to repurpose what they had and figure out what the fuck to do. And Vin Diesel came out in about April of 2014 and said the movie would come out 1 year later, April 10th, 2015. Now, Caleb and Cody Walker, which are Paul's younger brothers, were used as stand-ins to complete his remaining scenes following his brother's death. Peter Jackson's company Weta was hired to digitally reconstruct Paul Walker's face. Which was tough because they didn't have a whole lot of like physicality of him. Like, dude probably didn't have a whole lot of shirtless photos for them to use to his physique. That's why they got his brothers in. And so they basically reconstructed his face and they superimposed it over his brothers' bodies in over 260 shots.
Okay, I was going to ask you, like, going through the movie, like, there's only been a couple moments where I'm like, I wonder if this is really him or not. And I always thought, like, the ending. Like, I thought, so, like, when you're, like, I didn't know, like, about this, that I thought, like, he died when the movie was, you know, pretty much wrapped up besides a couple things, and they kind of...
No, it's early.
So it was really early on. So, like, a lot of the stuff we see is...
Yeah. 260-ish shots are CGI'd face over his brother's bodies, and another 90 shots were still his brother's bodies, but it's old footage of him on top, which I'm pretty sure is what the ending scene of him in the car is from one of the original movies.
I figured that was the one for sure, but I mean, Peter Jackson studio for Lord of the Rings is just phenomenal. Still, that shit.
And I think they're being purchased by someone, which sucks.
But like, I guess, you know, I just want to say give props to them, because like I think they did a good job of. Cause clearly, I didn't notice. And this movie's, you know, good 6 years old.
Most of him isn't in this movie in real, like, for reality.
Damn.
That's why a lot of the story was changed to be more about retiring his character, which it you know, and we talked about this in our F9 review, how it kind of screwed Jordana Brewster over, because how they wrote his retiring requires her to also retire. So they had to write a way for her to come back with personal stakes. But then at the same time, with the 8th movie having the reveal of Dominic Toretto having a kid, but then they also still continue doing that stuff anyway, well, then why doesn't Brian do the same? Obviously, we know why, but I feel like, you know, we start to getting a lot of suspension of disbelief, especially in this movie. Like, you just suspend disbelief, especially with the ending, you know, because, like, he's dead. You just gotta do it. I don't think any fans are, like, gonna nitpick it and say it's a negative because of any of this stuff.
I honestly
they did the best with what they got.
Overall, like, we've watched all these movies now almost second time, except the 8th and 9th one. And like going through it now and like, yeah, I don't think I don't think anyone should like be upset. You know what I mean? Like it just, how can you? Like,
I don't think anyone was.
Yeah,
at least I hope.
Sad, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it does suck, and I think that, and then, like you said, suspend disbelief. I mean, most of these movies, even with Paul Walker, we were suspending disbelief a lot of the times, whether it was stunts, physics.
Sure.
But like it's like we've said before, it's soap opera with cars and action,
Right.
which is fine, fucking awesome. I don't care. So like, I guess out of all the like kind of genres that do this, and I think they did a great job, and they could get away with it more in that sense.
Yeah,
like because like Star Wars and whatnot, like Princess Leia and all that, like I don't know how much they executed that well. I still go back and forth, and that was good, bad, and like obviously, like people die unfortunately, and it's never a good timing, but still like. Compared to other like big franchises where an actor dies, they either replace them with another actor. They've done CG like we saw here. By the way, maybe Star Wars should hire Peter Jackson because holy shit, some of the CG I've seen in some of the Star Wars who have probably just as big budgets look like shit.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just got me thinking that like I think this was, I guess, like considering his death and whatnot. I feel like this was they think they did a really good job of doing it, and the setting, I guess, which they've already had in place made it a lot easier and digestible and more of a send off than a like, oh well, he's gone now, guys. Let's move on. Like, there's literally they still make references to it that like he's doing great.
And exactly,
so
and that's where you suspend disbelief because the fuck do you want instead of what like they do in F9 where he rolls up at the last minute, he doesn't get out of the car, but that's kind of how they show it. It's like, what do you want instead? Yeah, what like legitimately any fan that's like upset, what do you want instead?
Yeah, and I don't think anyone was upset, but like you do Star Wars, and there's debate there because of how that was done, how the story was constructed, and how their lack of suspensive or disbelief or whatnot in those movies, I think, is different. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, just got me thinking about that, like, from that perspective of...
Yeah. A lot of the scenes where he has dialogue with, like, individual people are, like... There's the one scene where he is told that he has a daughter on the way. Mm-hmm. That actually entire conversation in his filmed scenes in particular are actually a deleted scene from Fast Five. Jeez. Believe it or not, yeah.
I
that
figured
they put
that
in here.
That's the other part I thought maybe because they kept, she's in this guarded area. That's an easy excuse. And then at one point she mentions like, oh, he's setting up CIA stuff or whatever to protect us. Yeah. And I figured, okay, this is definitely a scene that was shot later on.
Well, here's why. Jordana Brewster was in a TV show that got canceled, but she came in very late into production. She came in after he died.
Jesus Christ.
So she never actually filmed any scenes with him. They were all with his brothers, and then they superimpose him over it. So yeah, like any conversations he has with her are old shit that they have. There's a scene where him and Dom are talking, and they basically superimpose basically himself from Fast Five in the scene in Fast Five where they're talking about being fathers and what their fathers were. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
Where Dom's like, you're not going to be like your dad. You're just not, type of thing. Like, he is just taken out of that scene and put into this movie because the angles kind of work right for that stuff. Any parts where he's sitting around. And you can see a lot of stuff where a character will say X specific thing or whatever to him, and Paul responds with a very like plain like, yeah, let's do it. Yes, okay. He doesn't say the phrases, in his parts of the conversation. Like, they really did the best with what they got, what they had from him for this movie. But they had to change quite a bit from what I understand to kind of make it fit. And I don't think that they had planned on killing him off in the movie or anything like that, but they had to confirm that in a statement in between when they started production back up again and his death. Be like, no, his character's going to be retired and the franchise can still continue. We're not going to kill his character off. Because there are some moments in this movie where I'm like, damn, I knew this the second time around, but in the first one, not knowing that, I'm like, wow, are they actually going to have him die here or have him die there, So that's all about Paul. When the movie did come out, it was the biggest opening worldwide for a Fast and Furious movie besides F8. It currently sits at number 12, the 12th highest opening weekend worldwide, with $397 million, which is more than F1 made in total. For 2015, because this was a 2015 movie, for the opening weekends worldwide, it actually is the third highest, behind Jurassic World, which is 6th overall, and The Force Awakens, which is 5th overall, but it did beat out Avengers Age of Ultron, which is 15th.
I mean, that's still, that's the second Avengers movie, regardless of whether or not think that movie's good or bad, whatever, that's hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are going to go out and see that. So the fact that it beat that out says something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. But it didn't beat Star Wars and it didn't beat Jurassic World.
I mean, that was the first Star Wars movie we had in 10 years or whatever, how long.
And that's the highest. Adjusted for inflation, the original Star Wars does better. But not adjusted for inflation, Force Awakens, it crossed the $2 billion mark. Not a whole lot of movies do. Yeah. There are 48 films that did cross $1 billion. And this being one of them, and I'll ask you in a second. So, by the way, those 4 2015 movies, Force Awakens, Jurassic World, Furious 7, and Age of Ultron, that's also their ranking for just overall money made for 2015. It is currently the 9th, Furious 7 is currently the 9th highest grossing film of all time.
Damn,
but when
10.
it came out, it was the 4th highest. It has just, other movies have beaten it and since then. It is the highest grossing Fast and Furious film to date, too. So the budget of this movie was a measly $190 million. Really? What do you think the box office is with this info? Worldwide to date. And I will say also,
worldwide.
This movie has some scenes filmed in Abu Dhabi. In 2020, it had a re-release in theaters where it made like a couple 100,000 there, as well as Australia and New Zealand. But
I'm going to say like 1.3 billion worldwide.
$1.5 billion this movie made. Yeah. It beat out Fate of the Furious and obviously F9, but F9 is going to be hampered by COVID projections for movie theaters. Not Spider-Man, though. Spider-Man, I think, is like 16th highest of all time now, or something like that.
I mean, that's how these movies are now. It's all hype, or whether you like it or not. Like, it
is what it is.
Sells. Like, if you have,
it's so funny. The top 50 highest grossing films of all time, not adjusted for inflation, all very standard fare of Harry Potters and superheroes and Star Wars and big action movies. Not adjusted for inflation, mostly art house stuff films, or just classic stuff like Gone with the Wind being number 1 and Sound of Music being like number 6, and like all that type of stuff. Actually,
Titanic probably is in there.
Yeah, Titanic. Yeah. So Furious 7, directed by James Wan, produced once again by Neil H. Mortiz, Vin Diesel, and Michael Fortrell, and is once again written by Chris Morgan. Why don't we begin? So it opens with some pretty hard music, which is kind of funny. Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham, visits his brother in the hospital. He does this big, long monologue or whatever to him, which feels a little canned. So I'm like, not really all that great about what he's saying. But then when it reveals that he's basically attacked this place by himself, and that revealing shot, and the fact that they don't, like how they reveal that, I feel like that makes the scene overall pretty damn cool. I forgot
about this part too, because like literally he gives him like an MP5 submachine gun, and I'm like, bro, how'd you even get this in the hospital?
Exactly.
And then it pans out more, and you see like the 2 nurses like huddled in the corner.
Cowering. Yeah.
Also,
it was
this is
great.
one shot, by the way.
Yeah,
this is all
even
one
the
shot
elevator
until he
stuff
gets into the car. Yeah,
which means that the elevator, all that stuff had to be timed with how the elevator was going to be moving, which is pretty
only thing
great.
I can think of is that it was a big set, and then there is a cut somewhere in there, and they snuck it in there. We just didn't see it. Like when it's panning around him, they might have been able to cut inside the
Really?
elevator or something. That's the only thing I can think of.
There is some fun facts I've seen that I can't verify, so didn't really put them in here. But I'll say it now: the outside shot of the hospital is the same, apparently, hospital that the TV show Scrubs takes place in. And some people say that there's some Easter eggs in the hospital about that show. But again, I can't verify that stuff. So
I like the idea that all
Same
all
universe.
movies are connected in TV shows. They're all connected in the same universe,
Well-
but no one acknowledges it.
I forgot what the movie or even show was, but there is a tiny little theory, supposedly, that Kurt Russell's character is the same character he's played in an old thing because the outfit is pretty much identical. But so there's your shared
He
universe,
also
your
could
one
be,
race.
Guardians of the Galaxy. He could be the
Yeah.
same guy.
Yeah. Then we cut to our boy Vin Diesel as he drives with Letty, aka Michelle Rodriguez. He takes her to Race Wars, no, not that one, to help jog her memory. And we also get a tiny, I don't know if this is supposed to be a reveal or whatever, saying that they invented Race Wars. Is Race Wars, do we ever find out if that was an actual thing in real life?
Yeah, we looked it up, and it was like, at least back then it was. I don't know if they still do it now. But yeah, I think they kind of retconned that, like, oh no, we invented it. Because I thought y'all were invited last time this was mentioned.
Right.
Also, this is a dumb, not even a nitpick, but just like I always find it funny in all these movies that they're fucking speeding. They're going 100 miles an hour on a road that probably shouldn't be going 100 miles an hour on. But they always stay in the lane, though. Bro, if there's no one on that road, I'm going middle.
Right.
Middle. If I'm going to be going
If you're
100, I'm going middle.
If you're already breaking the law, break it a little bit safer. Give yourself some more shoulder room.
Exactly. I always just think every time I watch like them flying, I'm like, why are you still obeying that law? There's no one out
Exactly.
here. You're going to Race
Exactly.
Wars. Everyone's at Race Wars. Just stay in the middle.
Fun fact about Race Wars: Iggy Azalea is in a little scene. She's probably the taller blonde chick. It's the only person
that
I can
makes
think
sense.
of.
Yeah. Oh, is she the one that says
Ghost Girl, calls her Ghost Girl.
what are you, some ghost girl or something? What are we, a Suicide Squad or something?
Yeah. She says something about that.
This is one of my quotes that I almost used was here too. Vin says, "They say an open road helps you think."
It's true.
I don't know who says that, but he does.
Letty takes a race against some dude and wins due to Vin Diesel's just divine judgment on his vehicle. He's going to pop a couple pistons. And he
How did
does.
he
Like,
know
how the
that?
fuck do you know that?
Like, does
He's
he
just
just see it from
detective
the
vision
build?
from-
Did he look inside the engine? I don't know.
Maybe it's just he can tell the character of the driver, and he knows this cocky kid probably didn't fine-tune his
Yeah,
vehicle
he
all
probably
that
looks at me.
much.
He's like, "I know you drive a Subaru Crosstrek." I'm like, "You're right."
Probably he probably walked up to the guy in secret and said, "Here's $500,000. Lose the race."
I'm trying to make her jog her memory because she has
Right,
like
exactly,
PTSD,
exactly.
which she
Here's what we're
basically
gonna do.
gets when all the crowd of people are around her. She has,
Yeah.
And by the way,
Yeah,
everyone's chill about it. By the way, I respect that.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, she's
it's
crazy."
overwhelming for her, and she starts to remember some bits about her past, and she bolts. She punches the dude, and he's like, "It's all right."
Yeah, it's all good. Literally, he's bleeding. It's not like just a punch.
Yeah.
Like he's might have broken a tooth in there.
Exactly. That's where Vin Diesel should give another $500,000
For the medical bills. Yeah.
Exactly. We cut then to Brian O'Connor as he drops his kid off to school. He doesn't even know how to operate a minivan. That's how different this life is than the one he's lived thus far, even though it's been 4 years
So
since
has
he's
it
had
been,
this
that,
child.
they mentioned that? Yeah, they mentioned it's been like
Yeah.
4 years, right? I did find the
yeah.
scene cute though. That like it's like, okay, where is he? And then like he just moves up like 3 feet in this mom van. Then you have a cute scene with this kid.
Yeah. Also, it feels weird. It's like a drive-through. Drop your kid off, pick your kid up. You don't walk into the building. Weird. It's almost like that kid leads another life. Dom finds. I'll imagine these kids growing up like fucking hating cars and shit. Like to a degree where he's like upset with.
At least
like,
when you're
Vin
a
Diesel.
kid actor like that young, if you grow up, no one's gonna recognize you. Like
True.
no one's gonna be like, yo, bro, you're the kid from that scene.
People still do that with the kid that played Anakin in Episode 1 of Star Wars. So
He's a little bit older, right? And you see a lot more of his face. I don't remember what that kid's face looks like. They show him 3 times.
I don't even know his name. Dom finds Letty at her gravesite.
Jack, I think was the name.
Yeah. She tells him she needs to leave to find herself, and then she leaves.
Which is totally fair, by the way, in my opinion. Like, she's totally in the right. Vin's like, oh, you'll just remember it at some point. And then she's like, I don't even remember, like, most of our relationship, if at all.
Yeah, I'm a different person, like, straight up. That's how this works. I need to figure out who I am first. This is one of my little nitpicks about the story, and I feel like this might be the victim of them having to restructure the whole movie around Paul Walker. There had to have been something that happens. We don't see anything she does. She just shows back up again. And I feel like they had to cut stuff out. And I feel like the story had to change.
I think the main plot was going to be that. Her
it could have been. I mean, very easy. She could be in trouble from Shaw, who's hunting them all down or something like that, you know? But didn't work out that way. Introducing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he's sweaty. He gives a letter of recommendation to Elena.
I want my own, by the way, letter of recommendation from
Dwayne
I would pay
"The Rock"
money
Johnson.
for that. Like, I'll pay $1,000 for if he just writes my name, Devin, and then writes, like, even if it's canned response. Like, and then
it's
signed
a
by
printed out thing.
Yeah.
It just has an underscore at the very beginning. It writes, Devin is such a great
such a
person.
Great, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they can't specify
I loved
anything.
working with him at location.
Yeah. It's
Where are you
fucking
from?
Mad Libs.
Rochester? Okay.
It's a Mad Libs where underneath it says, like, name, location, you know.
Hey, as long as
time
he signs
spent.
it. As long as he signs it.
Yeah. When he comes back to his office, he finds Shaw sitting in his chair on his computer. The movie really wants to make sure that you know that he has a flash drive. He pulls it out and shows it to the camera, and then him and Hobbs duke it out. This made me think.
Great fight, by the way.
This made me think too. It is a great fight. If I was a supervillain and I'd broken into the DSS, not DLSS gamers, just DSS, and I'm at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's computer and I'm doing stuff there, I would 100% make an effort to show me pulling a flash drive out and waving it around just as a red herring for whatever else I actually did. Because it's not like at this instance he can tell what's on the flash drive, you know what I mean? If I'm arrested, if I get away, he'll find out later that was all a ruse.
Yeah, it could be like Christmas Day recipes on there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's all written in hypercard.
And once again, we know The Rock would win IRL, like within 30 seconds.
Right.
No offense to
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham can kick my ass easily. So I'm not. This
For
isn't
sure.
me talking trash. I'm just being real. The Rock could kill everyone on set. Maybe Vin would put up the biggest fight, but like
all at once.
Maybe not all at once. It's a lot of people. But I like how they kind of show that, like, yeah, if The Rock can grab him, like he does fuck him up a couple times. But what I like about Statham is he uses his environment more. Like he's
just also quick.
Yeah, he grabs the freaking light fixture above him, and then does slams it on The Rock's head. And I thought that was awesome. They did that great stunt together where they jumped on through that glass.
Where the
table.
camera kind of spins with it, you know, for the impact. Yeah,
there's a lot of good, just like impact shots to make it.
He's a great. He kind of reminds me a bit of Jackie Chan in that sense of how he's just very quick and just using the environment around him in a lot of his stuff. His transporter movies are interesting, I will say, at the very least. Shaw blows up the building, and Hobbs and Elena fall out a window. This is the only part in the entire Fast and Furious nonology, where a car isn't a soft mattress for you to fall on, because it puts Hobbs into like multiple casts on his body. But she's
like he
fine.
broke his back, to be honest, when you first see it. Like,
yes, he definitely looked like she's just like laying on top of him. Hobbs, are you all right? Because obviously he's a big softy on the inside and outside, apparently. Back, and this is my favorite part of the whole fucking movie. I love the logic behind this. Back at the Toretto's home, Brian gets his kid into the van, and Mia and Dom find a package from Tokyo, which then obviously blows up. And I just love the fact that he timed it with a phone call. What if they opened it up? whatever.
It's still cool though. It's still cool.
It is.
Like,
It is.
I also like that the Jack like throws the car, and then he's like, "Oh, cars can't fly," and I'm like, they don't even know that was like that joke works better now because we have a movie where a car fucking flies into space.
True. They repeat that when they do the building hopping stuff later. Yeah, that was one of the first scenes I believe that they filmed that used his brothers for that, and it really does feel like two different scenes are going on completely. They are so far apart from each other. A lot of the stuff really feels like Paul Walker is in another set sometimes because of how they did this stuff, but they did their best. Dom gets a phone call, and it's the post-credit scene from F6.
They get the house back right in F9, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all.
Oh, yeah, it's like being
painted
built
up.
again. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't remember. Also, I always feel bad for the fucking neighbors.
Yeah, you can
People
see
getting shot. The whole house is blowing up. There's a dude revving his fucking Mustang every other day.
Now, granted, there's like an apartment building next to them, but there's other homes around that's lowering the property value of those dramatically. Now, the apartments, on the other hand, rent's getting cheaper. But
the goddamn Torettos across the street keep blowing shit up.
you can literally see like the damage on the other buildings around as well. But then, yeah, F9 ends with the house being built and they have their barbecue back there.
I'd be like, the goddamn Torettos are back. Fuck.
Just fucking move.
I came and saw this house.
Yeah. Yeah, Dom gets a package and a phone call, and it's the post-credit scene from F6. The package was a bomb, and it blows up the home. How did that get through customs?
Don't worry about it.
It is what it is. And it's dramatic and, Paul Walker, I guess, but technically Brian O'Connor, the character, saving his son's life by closing the door and physically blocking and smashes his face in the glass.
Because that's also at the same time that's the first time we know that oh my god, I'm forgetting everyone's character's name, but what's her name is pregnant with
Letty, or not Letty, Jesus, Mia.
Mia's pregnant, or she tells Dom, and Dom's like, "Oh, you should have to tell him." Fair, and like, she mentions that he just wants more action, he wants more bullets, which is like, well, he probably should have used safe sex then.
True,
if he didn't want
but they're fast and furious.
You did it again, and you're still like contemplating. I don't know if I kind of love being shot at, but I get it. This part wasn't supposed to be in it, so I let it go. But I just think it was kind of cool that like they were just talking about it, like how he's kind of doesn't know if he's really ready to be a father. He's trying his best, and then when the explosion's happening, he immediately goes to protect his kid. I thought that was dope.
Yep. Dom visits Hobbs in the hospital and shows him Deckard Shaw's file.
This is my favorite Rock, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I just like the idea of him just sitting there. He's not even in pain. He's just waiting his time.
Yeah,
to
he's
come
doing
out.
the hand thing, or at least in a different scene he does that. A couple things. First off, I think it's hilarious that the girl's talking shit to Vin Diesel. So my dad kicked your ass. Also, two tiny little Easter eggs on the TV. First, it opens up with a college football game showing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on there briefly.
Was it the first time or I noticed it when he gets out of the hospital. They definitely were watching a Miami game because he played for Miami.
And then it quickly cuts to the Hulk, which is what he was called in F6. So that's like two little Easter eggs there. And it actually made me Google something. I'm like, there's no way Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was a football player. Oh, he was.
That's how, he started off. And actually, I did look it up myself, too, just because I had always heard about it. But I didn't know why he didn't, because he was drafted and played a couple of years in the league, NFL, before turning to wrestling for 4 or 5 years and then got into acting. I guess his career was kind of ended by Warren Sapp, who is a Hall of Famer. So at the very least, if you're The Rock, you can just know, hey, your job was stolen by one of the best football players to play the game.
Gotcha.
So you can't really hate, it's just a guy who's just a lot better than you that came in. But I just thought that was interesting that because Warren Sapp kind of took his job in the NFL, and then he just never could get back, and that's why he got into wrestling.
Interesting.
We'll
I had to
save
look
all
it up.
that for when we do the Rock podcast.
We're not doing The Rock. I'd rather do Nicolas Cage.
There'll be so many Rock movies. Just in the last 5
yeah.
years alone.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be doing 2 for the Sonic movie show. So, meanwhile, Mia and Brian are in the Dominican Republic with some random people, staying safe in a giant mansion with armed security guards. Like, who are these people?
He says if they mess with us, they mess with the whole country. And I'm like, damn, this guy. Like, was he like the president or something like that?
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
High up.
Mia tells Brian that he needs to go with Dom and stop Shaw. I say, notice how Brian doesn't say anything about settling down when Mia is. It's because it's being changed, in post after he died, what the conversation was about. We cut to the end credit scene from F3, and I forgot that this movie extended that by having actual Sean talk to Dom. I forgot that, no, Lucas Black, or whatever his name is, actually does come back in this movie. When we saw F9, I'm like, oh yeah, he hasn't been in it since F3, and I guess that's wrong. He's in a solo scene with Vin Diesel there, and he's so old. That kid's in high school. You gotta remember that. The kid's supposed to be in high school.
This kid looks like college, like graduate school. Like, then they could have got away with it.
He looks like he has a kid in high school.
Yeah. I mean, it's not his fault. But
I mean, yeah, he can't stop aging.
I'm saying
Roman
him being casted, like, it's not. I mean, he got that job, so
right,
it's your money, bro.
Roman and Tej are introduced at Han's funeral, although there is no body.
Because we know that this whole time, which I still don't get it.
We'll get to it later. Actually, we're about to get to it soon.
I can get it.
Yeah, they're all at the funeral. Shaw rolls by and Dom senses it. He can't see in the car, but he senses it.
Spider sense.
Yeah, he chases Shaw's car out of the cemetery and onto the roads. Very disrespectful going that fast in a cemetery, I'm not going to lie.
For some reason, I misremember. I think it's a different movie completely where there is, like, a car chase through a cemetery and they're, like, breaking graves. Because I was like,
oh my God.
Could you imagine if they did that while being like, man, we got to respect Han and, like, his legacy? It's like, fuck all these other people.
Dun,
So we're gonna
dun,
be like,
dun, dun, dun. It's like the crazy music playing.
yeah.
The two faced off underground and smashed into each other. No one's playing chicken today. No airbags are also deployed. That's a crash.
Well, I guess maybe they took them out. I don't know. Maybe they're like,
Probably.
ride or die. They're like, we're going to kind of make it so that we probably die.
They just proved to me that I don't need airbags.
Yeah, they're hurting me, actually.
Exactly.
If anything, that probably gives the impression that, like, oh, those cars are safe. They get a 4-star, 5-star safety rating.
Yeah.
With no airbags, too. You can walk right out. Damn.
Yeah.
Still put a man in a chokehold, too, afterwards.
Yeah. Some macho words are said, and a hammer materializes into Dom's hand, a gun into Shaw's. They definitely didn't have anything in their hands in the previous shot, and all of a sudden, it's got this giant hammer. Kurt Russell shows up and saves Dom. Shaw gets away and offers him to help him get Shaw. Mr. Russell tells Dom about a hacker named Ramsey and how they've created the ultimate tracking device, God's Eye. Mr. Russell says that in the wrong hands it's dangerous, so clearly the government is much better, right?
Or whoever he is.
Whoever he is, yeah. Which I feel like they elaborate further in later movies. But
if he's a rich man, he must have a lot of money if he's hiring all these people to be henchmen who die frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. He also has the best health insurance in the world. Private helicopter rides.
Yeah.
Mr. Russell convinces Dom to do this for him by reminding him that he already has one family member in the ground, which, as we know from F9, is now a direct and manipulative lie. Because Han says in F9 that Mr. Nobody saved him and he's been working for him.
That's right.
So Mr. Nobody was directly involved with keeping him from dying, but here he tells Dom that he died.
This whole movie and putting everyone at risk was just
It's a lie. Now, granted, was it written like this? No.
But
they decided Han lived for F9. You know what I mean? It was like the fact that they didn't show a casket for the funeral in this movie is probably the best thing for F9 because they can then write that off as,
Could you
well, we
imagine
didn't have a body.
If they had, like, they showed him, like, the open casket and everything, like, how would they have been able to retcon that?
Exactly.
We put a body double.
Considering how crazy the retcon is in F9, there's like a sewer grate underneath his car or some shit.
Yeah,
really,
a perfectly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would like if in that same string of explanations, they could have easily said that Mr. Nobody sent.
Forget. Does Jason
body
Statham
double.
even know then that he didn't actually kill him?
No, he doesn't know that. And remember at the post credits of F9 where Jason Statham is punching a body, like a punching bag, a speed bag or whatever, that has a body in it for whatever reason, and Han knocks on the door, and Jason Statham is surprised. Deckard Shaw does not realize that.
I'd be pissed. You put
So
my
insane.
entire family's life in danger for someone who really wasn't dead.
And you could have told me this after this movie. You could have told me this.
But no.
Insane. But it's insane. The rest of the team is now here, and the plan is formulated. Letty shows back up, having accomplished nothing. But I did like Roman's thing, trying to be like, no, I want to make decisions, and then, okay, now make a decision. He's like, I have no idea. And it almost seemed like he just kind of like said, you know what, we're going right here on this part of the road, and it just happened to work out that, like, yeah, we could do that. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, Letty shows back up, and it's like, well, nothing's changed. And I really want to know, maybe there was deleted scenes. I didn't look up into anything what those were. I also watched the extended version. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you did as well.
On Blu-ray, but for my box set that had an ad for the one ride that we'll talk about later.
Really? Okay. Yeah. No, I watched it. I watched it on Amazon Prime Video. Please sponsor us.
No.
We cut to everyone in the dark in their cars being super toxic to Roman about his well-shared and almost universal fear of driving a car out of a plane thousands of miles above a mountain.
Yeah, he gets bullied too. This is the one movie where I think it goes too far.
Yeah, like
they give him way too much shit, and he was the one that actually made the plan, legitimately.
In other movies, people make fun of him. But it's always something where he strikes first and then is retaliated, and then he This one, no. Most of this movie, no. He doesn't do anything like that. He's just bullied. You know what I mean? Like, really, you need this man to do a very intense mission with you all. And I get it, you're all like super cool and you can have a fun time, and it's not going to take so much brain power that you can't do other things with your brain to focus on other things or whatever. But like, dude is afraid of falling out of a plane in a car.
Which is fair.
You know?
I wouldn't...
Like, actually say, it's
even
okay.
If Vin Diesel himself came on this show and was like, hey, Devin, want to jump out of a plane with me in a car, just like in Furious 7. Do you want to do it? I'll pay for everything. Blah, blah, blah. No.
Exactly. Oh, my God. It's also dangerous how they deployed that parachute in the plane. That could have gotten caught on something.
Also, I feel like it was super early to put out, no?
Yeah. I have some facts about this sky drop, which I'm pretty sure the Japanese subtitle for this movie, the series in Japan is called Wild Speed, but the subtitle I'm pretty sure is Sky Mission because of this scene here. The sky drop scene was all done with real effects. Many, 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 many cameras were mounted everywhere on each car. There were several planes that dropped them off. So each of them had many cameras that were remotely controlled on the ground, apparently, these cameras moving in the car or in the planes, as well as many skydivers that also surrounded the cars to film different scenes. They basically jumped out first, then the cars fell, and then other people jumped out of the planes as well to film all that stuff. Very, very insane. At the end, where they all land, they basically... it was all real shots and stuff until they land. Most of them did not land where they were supposed to. They were filmed over Colorado.
Do you know where in Colorado? Did it say?
I don't know.
I mean, Colorado's pretty big, so it could have been anywhere.
Yeah,
they kind of look like Colorado, but I wouldn't have guessed that either at the same time.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of the stuff for this was filmed in Colorado because initially it was supposed to be done in Georgia, but their main director of principal photography told them they would have to CG enforce and stuff, and that people would just know that it's CG. So he said we need to just film this somewhere else. So that's why it's filmed in Colorado. Yeah, most of the cars did not land where they were supposed to, and they need to get them back. They took 6 trial runs with one car to see how it would work. In the movie, I don't know who it was that said it, but they said that there was the parachutes were GPS controlled, and that is actually true. Those actual cars were GPS controlled parachutes. I don't know if they need to be manually deployed like they did in the movie, or if it was automatic. But they were GPS controlled. And then when they landed, they basically had all the cars just in the air suspended on cranes, and then they just dropped them one by one. So the falling was real. And then they just CGI'd out the cranes and stuff.
So I think once per episode, I like to talk about at least one of the cars that I liked or thought was cool. And I joked earlier about me driving a Subaru Crosstrek because I do drive a Subaru Crosstrek. And so I always, because I feel like Subaru isn't the first choice for like these kind of movies, right? They always have the Mustangs, the Corvettes, and all those fancy cars. But we have a Subaru in this scene, and it's I looked it up just to see. Brian drives the Subaru.
Okay.
And I looked it up.
Already getting into that domesticated life.
Yeah. I was looking it up because I'm like, do I want a fast car that's also could be used in domesticated life? And I think a Subaru is the go-to for that. But I looked it up, and it's a Impreza, but not just a regular Impreza, obviously. But it's a WRX STIGH. But it was made in 2012. And they're still in production. And I looked into, like, I don't know how true this is, but because this is from a fandom website, so it could be fake to a certain extent. But I kind of believe it. But I guess Subaru donated these cars and had them the blue paint scheme and all that for cool effects. But they donated, like, I think, was it 7 cars were given, but only one of them actually survived past the production of the film. It's also the least modified vehicle in this operation.
Interesting. Yeah, speaking about cars being destroyed, over 340 cars were used in the film, 230 of which were destroyed.
And this car can now be seen in the Volo Cars Automotive Museum, wherever that
Interesting.
is. But
interesting.
It's called the Furious 7 2014 Subaru WRX STI. So.
Interesting. Brian also drives his blue Nissan Skyline, or Skyline, I think it's called, in this movie as well at some point. And it is apparently supposed to be the same one he has driven before, like the actual same vehicle, which is interesting. That's my facts about the Skydrop. So going back to the Skydrop, once one by one they leave the plane, they land, and they begin pursuit. This long chase and fight scene involves multiple guns and ramming and punching and lots of choreography. Many planes of action, which I appreciated. Even like the setup and payoff of not having Roman with it the whole time. Thank God he didn't have an integral role to play. Some of those people had devices that they needed to use. But the payoff of him coming in later and all this stuff ultimately ends with Brian having to Uncharted 2 opening his way out of a bus hanging off the edge of a cliff, which I thought was pretty cool.
Also just a bad day for him to wear Vans because like they're flat.
No
shoes.
traction.
There's no traction on that shit.
Nope.
I'm like,
nope, not running
like,
shoes.
Bro, you know, like this is some sort of sneaker there.
Yeah,
situation,
well,
but it worked out.
He's the white guy on the team, so he needs to wear, something like that, I guess. Letty saves him, and we talked about this when we...
Brian does fight our guy, Tony J.A. Ya, who was in Monster Hunter. He's
really?
Remember the...
Yeah. I believe this was...
Or Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. He's from The Raid, right? He's from those movies, The Raid?
I
think he is. This is his first movie where he speaks English, too.
Yeah, he's Monster Hunter, Triple Threat, Master Z, IP Man, Paradox, Return of Xander Cage. He's going to be in that, too. So he's in a lot of these movies.
Interesting.
Maybe him and Vin like have like their phone numbers. You know what I mean? I feel like that's probably what the case is.
Well, so let's actually talk about Jason Statham for a second too. You reminded me, and I should have brought this up earlier. Everyone loves Jason Statham. People love those transporter movies, but no one remembers what actually occurs in those movies. And the Meg. Jason Statham was initially offered to be Owen Shaw in F6, but he couldn't due to scheduling 2 other movies at the same time. But him and Vin Diesel always wanted to do a film together, so it worked out for Furious 7, which I love. They clearly had numbers. You know what I mean? That's what reminded me of it. But Brian O'Connor is running on the top of the bus, much akin to Nathan Drake running on the train that's falling off the cliff at the beginning of Uncharted 2, and he jumps. But of course he can't reach the cliff. But Letty knew this before and drifts along the cliff for him to grab.
All these
like,
movies
the tailpipe
or
whatever.
Perfect timing.
Yeah,
perfect execution and perfect timing. I love it.
We talked about this when we first watched this movie a few years ago before we had a podcast. And I don't know if it was you or me or whoever, but I still love the idea of her mistiming it. And he could have landed on the cliff, but instead she basically just ping pongs him and he falls off anyway.
That would have been brutal. That would have been
Letty
distasteful if that's how they killed him off.
Well,
it would have been super distasteful.
But then they got to go so serious and have the next movies be about trauma and shit, you know, that she has because of killing Brian O'Connor.
Brian O'Connor, yeah.
Brian O'Connor. Oof. I've had lots of Coke Zeros. I feel like I'm getting drunk. Letty saves him. And meanwhile, Dom and Ramsey get cornered at a different edge of a cliff. And we finally get to see why Dom's car has tires on top. Never mind, we don't. They just tumble off the cliff. Why the fuck were there tires at the top of his car?
Spare.
They looked cool, but why? I was like, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, that's right. He's going to drive off backwards and the car's going to like roll down the cliff on the roof, and that's why there's tires to help them. No, he just fall.
This is also just another example of where, like, and also with Han being the more obvious thing, no one dies. No one dies besides Gal Gadot, and I can guarantee you she's going to come back in some way at this point. Because, like,
one of the fun facts about her said that she was supposed to be in this movie, by the way, but I could not verify that. One of the things says there was a deleted scene or whatever of her talking to Letty that was supposed to be in this movie.
Well,
so she's clearly not dead. But yes, I mean, they even talk about that in F9. That's Roman's whole thing is like, why am I not dead? You know? They just don't die. Yeah,
willpower.
There we go. Our willpower thing. But yeah, we have, I forget the actor's name, but the dude from Guardians of the Galaxy is Mose, this terrorist that had initially had the God's Eye, and we saved Ramsey from the bus or whatever, and whatever. Now we get to be introduced to Ramsey properly. And that night, Dom and Brian have a chat, and it once again feels like 2 different scenes. This is where a lot of that superimposed stuff from that F5 talking about our fathers is in here. But yeah, Ramsey is introduced immediately. Roman and Tej, or mainly just Roman, is hitting on her, but like she hears it, but he's not supposed to. It's very weird.
Just don't be creepy, man.
Yeah, she's able to easily identify who each of them are, but she also calls Vin Diesel Alpha, and Michelle Rodriguez Mrs.
Everyone else
Alpha.
got like an adjective thrown there. It's just he is Alpha. So
weird. Yeah, people studied captive wolves and have a wrong impression about society. Is legitimately how the Alpha shit came up. We roll up to Abu Dhabi, which I thought in the past was Dubai, and then I looked it up. Was supposed to be in Dubai, but better tax rebate to film it in Abu Dhabi.
It's always about the money.
Yeah, the Emirates would have basically gotten a better deal. So, we roll up to Abu Dhabi and get into a party in one of the 3 large towers to steal a drive that's tucked away in some car. It's a big party. I don't know how high up they were.
T-Pain's hosting.
Was it T-Pain?
It was T-Pain.
He was the DJ?
Yeah. Well, he was also playing one of his songs, but then I didn't get a good glimpse at him. But then it had a sticker on his laptop that said T-Pain. So I'm like, okay,
interesting. There you go.
Once again,
Well,
Vin probably had his numbers. You go, T-Pain, you want to be in this? Want to be in Abu Dhabi?
Want to go to Abu Dhabi? Just want to like go there, fly there for free, legitimately go to a party,
And just DJ,
you know what I mean? Exactly.
play a couple of your tracks. It's going down for real.
Okay,
That's one of his songs that there's like you could hear it faintly when they were getting out of the elevator.
A remix of DJ Snake's "Turn Down for What" also appears in this movie. It's around that time when that song,
2015,
came
was
out. Ballin' year. We're talking Metal Gear Solid 5. We're talking The Witcher 3. Oh, we're not talking about video games. The team splits up to do their stuff, and Dom lifts a car and just stands there holding this car up. Ronda Rousey is a bad actor, and she fights Letty.
Here's my defense. Not saying I give a shit, but here's my defense of Ronda Rousey. I think that she is just a boring talking person. Like I think it's just how she talks. Just based off what I've seen, like in interviews of her, is that I think because she's the same way in Mortal Kombat 11, because she plays Sonya Blade in that, and I think she's just boring, which makes her a bad actor, I guess.
Yeah,
but she can fight at least, and I think her fight scenes are good in this. But yeah, her like dialogue isn't great. But I think it's just how she speaks. I think she just talks like that, and like no one has told her, "Hey, you need to like."
They just can't get her to do it better. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
She's also said some transphobic stuff too in the past, so she's like kind of teetering between being canceled, aka getting even more famous than you ever were before.
I mean, this is also the time when like she like was winning a bunch of MMA matches. She's at the top, so she capitalized on that success.
45 days after the filming of her scenes here, she went on for like a title match or something like that.
She was also in Expendables 3, I think,
which she was filming right before this movie.
Okay, so I mean, she got.
It was back to back.
Cashed out on her check because like now I feel like no one talks about her. So.
Michelle Rodriguez is the only movie star to fight 2 female MMA fighters
and win.
And they win. Yeah, exactly. And one of them is legit canceled. So you can say, Michelle, you did good.
So does Michelle cancel them? If you think about it?
Exactly.
If Michelle's fighting you, you might be canceled around the corner. Gotta be careful.
Exactly. We're all split up. Tej and Ramsey are hacking. Roman is just chilling, waiting for his cue. Dom and Brian go to the Hypersport. There are only 7 in the world, and they made an 8th for this movie, but it's like a dumbed down version, so it doesn't technically count as an 8th Hypersport because that's the whole allure. The facts they read about it is real because that is a real car that you could theoretically buy.
Like NFTs, but like actually makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the dude's hoarding it like you would an NFT, just literally an asset to sell later. So, you know what? If anything, that car has had more excitement in Dom's hands than it ever had in that rich person's penthouse. How the fuck do you get it down?
For someone to drive it.
It's like a cat being locked into a room. Let me out. This fight's going down, and meanwhile, Roman is losing the crowd, and the whole thing is getting locked down. They told him, just go, and he starts singing Happy Birthday, takes T-Pain's microphone. Now that I know that's T-Pain, that's a low blow. They're both artists. Tyrese just
anything,
takes
maybe
T-Pain's.
I wonder if like Tyrese's connections to the music industry,
and along with Ludacris as well.
Probably, maybe that's how they got T-Pain to be in it more than Vin, probably.
Yeah, but I like to imagine anything that happens in these movies is because Vin Diesel wants it and seeks it out. I like to think that as well.
He sends an email or two.
I mean, we finally got an actual Corona sponsorship.
That's true.
Because of that. He was just drinking the movies in the previous ones. Here we actually had the lined up official Corona, ice bucket angled
Kurt Russell
perfectly.
Literally grabs it from behind something, a perfect bucket of ice, like in ice and everything. Like he knew
exactly.
He was
like they filmed a commercial like 30 seconds prior.
The logo should have just popped up and then said "drink responsibly" under it. It might as well have just cut to an ad there.
Yeah, all the gates are being closed, and Brian and Dom don't have time, so they decide to just take the car. We now get to the big set piece where the car jumps from building to building. Jason Statham enters, and he doesn't say a goddamn word. Apparently he has 17 lines in this whole movie, by the way. He's silent in this whole scene. He's just shooting people up. The car is just drifting around till Dom has an idea of what to do, and eventually they just jump it out. Car jumps 2 buildings. It also destroys what I believe are replicas, because if they aren't replicas, I don't know how this movie got filmed or aired in China. A whole bunch of terracotta Chinese warrior statues, which I saw those. I'm like, wow. Like, did this movie air in China? There's no way.
Well,
and it did. It made more money in China than it did here.
In the beginning, it did say China Film something Productions. So I assume that maybe they put it in there, being like, hey, what if you run through
Weird.
this?
And it's in just some person's private collection in a tower in Abu Dhabi. Maybe that's why they're okay. You know, if you want to destroy these, they need to be in some other culture's private collection, so we can say you don't deserve them. Yeah, lots of that stuff going on. The crew
they get out of
escapes. Yeah, they just leave. The crew escapes scot-free and meets up with Mr. Russell. That's it.
Also, then everyone just walks out of there.
Yeah. Whatever.
People definitely died or got hurt, at least.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey's character at least was knocked unconscious onto the DJ table.
That's right.
I have no idea.
But she was paid to do that. She's not an innocent civilian. That's literally her job. She intervened.
It's true.
Wouldn't have gotten her if she didn't intervene. Her and her Amazonian guardian force or whatever. I think that's like literally what they're supposed to be based off of in that country, or just general culture. There's like some prince that had an all-women bodyguard, and they were called like the Amazonians or something like that. So they talk, they celebrate. They show God's Eye, which is just a tiny little like SD card or whatever, which looks like it's encased in a giant ass hard drive. But he gives it to Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell takes one look at it, trusts them, and hands it right back. Dom tries to leave with Mr. Russell alone to go find Shaw, because his crew, they're street racers, they're not killers. Mm-hmm. Brian isn't letting Dom go without him. Yeah, we saw Fast 5.
No, literally in the same movie, Brian shoots people with a gun.
Okay, he's ex-FBI twice. As well as being an ex-cop. Whatever. Maybe he wasn't really referring to them, but...
Also, the whole time, Mr. Nobody could have drone striked everyone's ass, but never did, just saying.
True. Also, you know what? You have you delivered on your promise. Time for me to reveal that I lied about your friend dying and have actually employed him for years. Whatever. No, we'll keep that a secret. We still love you, Kurt Russell.
Hey,
I love him in this movie, and just in general. Kurt Russell's the man. Everyone should watch Escape from New York.
And The Thing.
Someone's going Fast and Furious outside.
It's Kurt.
My house right now. He's never driven a car in these movies. I'm pretty sure. So, but yeah, they find Shaw, but it's a trap, and I wrote his name out. Jaconda Mose is the terrorist from the mountain chase, and he is here with some dudes to wreak vengeance.
Yep.
I also want to know how Shaw cooked his meal. And what it was, because I was hungry when I watched this movie. So I'm like, looks like it was maybe some steak and potatoes or something. And I just fucking love, he obviously knew they were coming, yada yada, it was a trap. But part of that trap was basically just hiding a grenade under a napkin so he can pick up and just wipe his face, aka pull the pin out.
And then it doesn't even actually blow up.
Well, because the pin keeps the hammer from releasing. So as long as you hold the hammer down, you're good. The pin keeps the hammer from opening up, and then that's what lights the fuse.
FBI?
Yeah.
See how he knows all this stuff?
Yep, exactly. That's why there's that handle thing. The pin just keeps it there.
That's why video games cause violence. He knows so much.
Exactly. And that's why they're also so expensive too. Exactly. And the politics in them. Whatever. Yeah, they're fighting it up. The bad guys get the God's Eye, wait, why'd they bring it with them? And our team scrape by and make it out. This is a pretty big, I don't want to say plot hole. Because again, we've talked about in the past, like if it's for in the service of the movie, sure, I don't care. It is what it is. It's fine. If sometimes it's actually great because it leads to goofy shit that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I feel like this was almost a like, again, this movie was restructured to fit around one of their leads dying in real life. So I feel like, I wonder if this is related to any of that. But yeah, it is weird that like they brought it with them. Whatever. Mr. Russell is taken away by his people because he got shot. I wrote show. I had to think for a second because he got shot. And the team now has a plan. Lure Shaw and the God's Eye and drive around the city a bunch. Little fun fact. This Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild shot of them standing on this onlook over their landscape that would be their playfield for the next few hours is apparently the same place that Paul Walker's character Brian O'Connor is seen driving by or practicing by something in the very first movie. Is okay. This because it's in L.A. They go back to L.A. for this, which they never say they're going anywhere. So at the very beginning, I'm like, are they still in the Middle East? No, they can't be. Oh, we're L.A. Okay, cool. Just as hot sometimes. Dom hunts down Shaw, while the others play keep away with Ramsey while she hacks God's Eye. It goes mostly to plan until the bad guys shoot out a tower, which is the thing that requires them to hack God's Eye, which shouldn't be hackable. But again, these series have a MacGuffin every fucking time now. But they shoot out this tower, which is all The Rock needs to break his arm cast and step into the ring.
So it also makes me think that like he's using this as a vacation. This whole time he could just walk this shit off. Like he's like, I can be here a couple extra days. I'm like just you know.
I think this was where he was doing the.
I can watch my highlights on TV for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I also like that there's this explosion and shit happening, and then the news comes on. Doesn't say anything about any of these people, and then his daughter's like, what's happening? He's like, I know what's happening.
I think he says Dominic Toretto is just the answer or something like that, right?
And it's like, no, this could be 9/11 too. Like, we don't know. Like, like you're in LA. Like, I guess anything is. Like, they could be filming a movie.
A better rock line would be him saying something about how cute it is that they brought it back to give him some action. Like they brought it back here.
Like, that's my bat signal or something to that effect. Where it's like, now it's time for me to.
We joked about this.
He does say, it's time for Daddy to go to work, which I thought that was great.
Yeah, and he just happens to have all of his gear and guns and shit in the hospital room. But we joked about this when we first watched this movie years ago. We just saw it coming. He's going to just bust the cast open with just the arm that's in it. He doesn't touch it with his other hand. He just extends his arm out to break it, and I fucking love it. Dom and Shaw duke it out with melee, while Ramsey is swapped to the final car driven by the final girl, Letty. It is interesting how they are in this helicopter, the bad guys, and they have this drone, and they're chasing them. They have God's Eye in the helicopter to track them. The drone is also then tracking the signal to them. But they almost film it as if there's multiple planes of action. Like them in the helicopter are doing some ulterior motive thing, but that's never the case.
It's like an eye in the sky, but they're not even really at the.
They're just flying around. Yeah, it's
until the end where they're shooting at
they had guns, so they could have participated.
Yeah,
it's weird. But it is what it is.
Also, this just shows that we don't need cops.
Because they didn't show up.
Never showed up.
Until the end. We're hours into this, and they finally show up. Bro, we're in L.A. This isn't some suburb miles away from your police station. You're in it. They're driving past you guys. Whatever.
Literally, buildings are collapsing.
Right. Send in the fucking military. You're being attacked by someone that is a literal terrorist, by the way. Mose is a terrorist. He's on lists.
Which he just easily
got. A helicopter is flying over a city. That should be enough.
we don't need TSA because he fucking got here.
Right?
How? You had to fly. You're from.
Yeah.
You came from what? The Middle East.
What's that helicopter doing up there? It's got no authorization written on it anywhere. We have no idea.
I know this is being
and it has a gun.
It's just funny that like I actually love the Fast and Furious universe because it's closer to what I want, which is
right.
There's no military.
Who gives a fuck?
There's no police.
It's
no one
people
gives a fuck.
in cars.
People.
That's all we need. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson's outfit, and then Kurt Russell's outfit.
The only military there is The Rock.
Yeah,
and that budget's probably still smaller than what our current one is.
And an incompetent FBI agency that let Brian O'Connor get hired twice.
He came back for the interview, and they're like, "Oh, he has a great resume."
3 days later, he's punching a man's, breaking his nose. And then in F6, they bring him back again. Remember that? He uses them to get him into prison. Whew. But again, I love these movies. We're watching these for a reason.
That's why I love them.
But yeah, Dom and Shaw are on the roof of a parking garage fighting with just metal objects. Dom has wrenches, and I'm sure in some deleted scene he said, "These were the wrenches my dad used to build this car," or something like that.
Yeah.
They're fighting it out. And yeah, Brian is heading through some building to turn a repeater on to just make the thing work, basically to give him something to do since he was taken out of a vehicle very early in this entire scene setting. And he's attacked by that reoccurring person from before. I don't know what his character's name is. But that guy we were talking about earlier, they fight in that warehouse. There's definitely some planned shots, like the door sliding down all those stairs, and the scene where Brian is sliding on the thing to go under the door and shooting. All that stuff was kind of cool, as well as him hooking a little latch onto the bad guy and making him fall to his death and saying the thing that he said to him when he thought he was gonna die. And I said a lot of he's, and you probably don't know who I was talking about, but yes,
I understood because I saw
all that stuff happened. All that stuff happened, and he just turns it on. I love too that Tej tells him to just unplug this cable and plug it into his phone, just assuming that the cable head was going to be correct. Yeah, like it was going to hook up. But you know what? Tej is just a genius. Brian is successful, and we get the God's eye back online. Dom and Shaw are still punching, and Mose shoots their battleground apart. Shaw falls, and then that's it for him. Doesn't die. Mose then has a shootout with The Rock, and Dom runs a car through the air to deliver a bag of grenades up there for then The Rock to shoot with his silver ballin' hand cannon of a gun that he's had since F5.
I'm glad they gave Rock a minigun, by the way, earlier.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact as well, a lot of his stunts in this movie were done by his cousin, who is a stunt actor.
The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock.
The Rock has a cousin who's just as beefy as him?
Or at least beefy enough to be his stunt double. He's probably from Samoa, too. I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of his family is.
That's crazy. That's what I'm saying. There's so much Rock knowledge.
Something in the water that makes them fucking jacked.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have some of that? Just a little. At least to make me taller. You know? That's okay. I have a successful podcast that makes me prideful. In the aftermath, Dom is dead, and Letty tells him something that she remembers everything. And as Dom wakes up, Letty asks him the question we had when we watched F6. Why didn't you tell her that you are married? His response: you can't tell someone that they love you. Okay. Okay.
I also love that at the wedding he wears a wife beater there too. When she's in a full on dress, and it'd be one thing if it was, they're eloping and you walked into the courthouse, you have your shorts and or whatever on. No, everyone's wearing all white. She has a full on dress on. He's like, I'm still wearing this wife beater. I'd be like, bro, put on a suit. or a dress coat or something.
Well, in the elevator in Abu Dhabi, she says, "You look handsome," in his suit, and he says, "I feel awkward." So maybe he's not comfortable in these types of outfits. And the wife beater is the truest form of his self-expression, what he feels like is appropriate. And he probably beats his wife. No. I like how we were very quick to just say no. Just a very obvious joke. Then Hobbs delivers Shaw to prison to set up the next movie. We finally get the tears, and we get that ending. And it's a good ending. It feels introspective. It feels like you can see both the cast and the characters letting, Paul Walker go. You know what I mean? In a way that
honestly,
it just
that whole monologue
feels very well done.
By Vin Diesel is Vin Diesel talking and not Dom talking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, the way he's saying things just feels a little bit more like... No, it's from the heart for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like that, like, he's playing on the beach with this kid or whatever, so, like... And they kind of say, it's never goodbye. And I'm like, I like that. It's a good way to, like, I think, generally speaking, put loss in perspective. Whether or not you believe in a heaven or whatnot, but I think it's just kind of an easier way to be like, be happy it kind of happened. Not even just that, but just like someday you'll see them again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I like
it's a good ending. It's touching. Yeah, it is all the stuff we said. It has that
like
montage in the end.
Separate ways.
Yeah.
Like, he's on his own thing now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Well, that was Furious 7. All the stats about it that we said were impressive, and the fact that they were able to make this movie work at all, considering the circumstances, I feel like is a feat in and of itself. We'll talk about our overall opinions on the movie and stuff when we go to rank it. But in between that and now, let's talk about two other things for this episode. The music video... Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again. And let's talk about Fast and Furious Supercharged, the Orlando and Hollywood theme park ride, in quotes. Why don't we start with the music video? I don't have too much to say. Vin Diesel is credited in this music video. That's why we're talking about it here. If he wasn't, then we wouldn't. I feel like it's an okay song. I feel like it's just an okay music video.
My question is, was this song made for this movie? Like,
yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like in the Sonic movie, right? They had that one song at the end, right? Was this like made, before the movie was, or like was this always going to be? I'm wondering. I don't know if we'll know this information. It's more of just, I guess, Wiz Khalifa question is like, how much of the song was made before, like the lyrics.
When did they contact you for this? Yeah, I feel like this was just like in that 1 year delay, and they're refilming again some stuff. This probably popped up in there for sure.
And I wonder why they chose him. Not saying they shouldn't have or shouldn't. It's more of just was there a reason behind that, or was it kind of just this guy was available, or like he knew Paul Walker?
It would have been more touching if it was Tyrese and Ludacris and Vin. Than Wiz Khalifa.
Maybe they,
regardless of whatever you have opinion wise.
Maybe they,
character.
Maybe not break character, but more of just maybe they didn't feel it was right. Like, we don't know them. You know what I mean? So we don't know what their feelings were. Maybe that was a discussion they had, and they just felt like it wasn't something they could put into that way.
Fair.
So,
this music video features various final. I wrote FF. I almost literally said Final Fantasy. Various Fast and Furious movies, much like the end of the movie itself, intersplicing with scenes of Charlie Puth playing piano and then standing between two cars, a little awkwardly looking off to the right, as well as Wiz Khalifa doing his thing. At one point, Wiz Khalifa is surrounded by what I assume to be all the cars from one of the movies, probably F6, if I had to guess, with some of the colorations. Kind of rings a bell for that. So it's kind of cool. Nothing about the music video is too crazy in what it does, but I feel like that's not necessarily the purpose of what the music video would have had to accomplish anyway.
I think it was kind of the same direction of what the ending of the movie was, where it's just kind of a montage of all of Paul's work in Fast and Furious, and whatnot. I remember this song being on the radio and stuff, like around this time and whatnot, it being a popular song. I mean, literally YouTube comments are people saying, like, I still love this song and stuff. I don't think it's my cup of tea in terms of a hip-hop ballad. But I'm glad it exists, I guess, in the way of, like, I think it makes that ending part of the movie more impactful.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was a bad addition for the movie or anything like that.
As a standalone song, like, I personally probably won't listen to it.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
You know what I mean? Compared to other movie, like, soundtrack songs and whatnot that I, have listened to. But
yeah,
speaking
about
I get
YouTube,
why people may be connected to the song if they're, at the time. Because, like, for us, like, we got into Fast and Furious after his death rather than,
right?
Being fans and then he dies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to, I guess, gauge the emotional impact of it. Not saying it wasn't emotional to still watch, but we have that hindsight going in and whatnot.
Yeah. Not too much to really say about what's there is kind of what we already said, substance wise. I think the song is okay. It's not something that I would necessarily go back and listen to. I would say, considering that it's Wiz Khalifa, I am surprised it is as, like, tame and respectful feeling. You know what I mean? But I'm not, like, a Wiz Khalifa listener. I don't really know too much of his stuff, so I'm mainly talking about my impressions with little context
I'm
from
trying to
them.
think of any songs. I'm sure I know songs. I just don't know it's him.
I just know at one point he tried to have a rock and roll album, and it was kind of just he added guitar to his beats, and that was about it. But yeah, no, I don't think it was bad in any regards as far as, like, performances in it, like, in terms of acting.
They took it seriously.
It's just a music video.
You know what I mean? It's like, they didn't seem like, cause, like, you're right. It could have been all about partying or something like that. No, like, he took the lyrics, the lyrics are, I think, say the same message of being, you're my brother, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So it seems they took it seriously and they did what they wanted to do with it, so.
This music video had a Golden Globe nomination for Best Song for the movie proper. On YouTube, it had 1 billion views in 2015. And in 2017, it was the most viewed video ever.
Really?
Like in total views. It got passed by other things at that point. It is now over 5 billion views on YouTube. So
that's crazy to think about. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I just got 2 more today.
Like, yeah, I got 2 more today. But no, just like it was popular, but I didn't think it was that popular. It's not like the music video is, like I said, like, where it's not groundbreaking. There isn't like This Is America,
very simple.
Where there isn't some sort of like, oh, you gotta watch this, it's shocking or something like that. You know what I mean? So, that's interesting. It's interesting facts. I mean, good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of, reminds me a bit of the movie's success itself, and they didn't market around Paul Walker's death. It was something like everyone knew about it, and like the tribute for it in the end was something I think people knew going in and all that stuff. So I feel like it piggybacks off of that. Like if Paul Walker didn't die, Furious 7 wouldn't be the best performing movie box office wise, right? It just wouldn't be. So I think that added to it for sure. So that's that. I mean, do you have anything else to say about the music video? It is what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
I don't hate it.
I don't have any negatives.
Disrespectful. Didn't find it distasteful or anything. Like, I think it was cool.
I'm
sure if everyone else is happy in the actual people involved in the movie and whatnot, and good, I'm happy for them.
I guess I would say music video wise itself, it'd be cool if Vin Diesel was in it besides reused scenes. Like, all the scenes are reused, but none of them are. They all kind of fit. That's all pretty much most of the same scenes that they used in the montage at the end of the movie itself. But yeah, I mean, is what it is. Now let's talk about Fast and Furious Supercharged. And there was a bit of confusion when I was looking up stuff about this ride. We watched a video, technically 2 videos, of someone's journey through the Orlando variant of the ride. This is in Universal Parks. It is a pretty brief ride. It's like maybe 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. It is an original thing. So essentially, all the riders show up into like a giant warehouse type of scenario, and they're all waiting for the ride to begin, and they're getting some character talks to them, and they have a couple real people that interact with the videos, a little bit like that. As far as like the actual ride itself, we have some videos interspliced of Tej and Hobbs talk to the riders and give them a briefing. Hobbs tells them that there is a witness on that ride. I think it's implied that's one of them, which is kind of neat to be like, one of you is the secret this, but you don't know, And that Owen Shaw is going to want to take them out, and he says that they're all in danger. But they were initially, the riders are supposed to be going to a party to celebrate a thing. As the ride begins to pass some set of cars and garages and just what Universal's website calls actual movie props. But sure. Mia tells the riders to turn their phones off and turn their cameras off because Shaw could be tracking them. Which obviously is just a way of like, hey, don't film this and put it on YouTube. This was like
the end of the area where everyone has a cell phone at this point, and like the idea of cell phone etiquette was starting to be like change a little bit. Because, I mean, I remember, like concerts and stuff where not everyone had a cell phone. Not everyone, but there's, like, a good majority of people, people filming concerts. And, like, a lot of artists I know, like, hated it. Would hate that they're getting filmed and ruining the experience for someone. And then now, like, everyone has a fucking camera.
And three-quarters, if not almost everyone in any concert is filming it as well as watching it.
So like everyone just had to just accept it, you know what I mean? But I feel like this is like around the era where that was kind of ending. So it's kind of like a blast from the past for me, like hearing that, being like, you don't, like at most you see like a no flash photography sign maybe outside like
which would ruin the experience for other people around you.
Don't do that.
But like some of the don't film it is more of like, oh, that means someone that could have spent money to come to the park isn't going to now. Like, no, dude, this is not even remotely the same thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I just thought it was funny, like hearing that, being like, man, I remember those days when like, hey, don't bring out your phone during a concert. Don't bring out your. And now it's like, no one polices each other. Fucking, you go to a movie theater and like, there's a good chance someone's gonna be fucking texting. It's like,
that's why I'm waiting to see Spider-Man to help some of those theaters die down a bit. When we saw
Spider-Man, there was these three people like kind of far away from us, but talking just loud enough to where like it got distracting moments, and they just fucking left halfway through the movie. No, sorry, it was The Matrix. Halfway through the movie,
okay,
and it was just like, why are you here on opening night? Like, why are you here? Like, leave this to the people who like really give a shit about this franchise. Come on a Tuesday and you can get drunk, and
y'all could just watch it on HBO Max.
Yeah, also
you know what I mean, for those people.
Yeah,
but whatever. Stayed home and did it. If you want to talk through it, I don't like people talking during movie theaters, but I'm never quite brave enough to do anything about it.
The only time I ever said anything was when I was with you that one time when someone was listening to music. Remember during.
Okay.
I forgot what movie we were seeing, but they were, doing music, and I think it was someone who snuck in, and we caught, like, I remember I said something, and they left, but it's the only time I've ever done that, and that was only because, like, I was far enough away where you probably couldn't tell where it was coming from.
And you had backup.
Yeah.
Because I was there. I remember I watched Deadpool with David, a mutual friend of, not necessarily this show, but our podcast in general, and there was a guy directly behind us that was talking the whole time, laughing it up, filling in the jokes that he saw in the trailers that he watched so many times. But he had, like, immense autism, so no one did anything, which I understood. We just watched the movie a second time in theaters just to make up for it. But, I always hate that shit. Back to the ride. It turns the corner and stops next to some dance club in a garage. The FBI ushers everyone out, and then a poorly acted agent tries to arrest Roman or whatever, and Dom and Letty rise up from the ground on a truck.
I don't get that. Like, what is that? Like, do they have a secret underground base this whole time? Like, it'd be one thing if that was something from the movie, like, but that's never happened in the movie. There's no like we gotta go in our dungeon of cool cars or something.
Yep, it's definitely like, it really does feel like we need to write something for this ride. What can we do?
It felt a little out of place. It just felt a little wacky. Like, and Fast Furious can be wacky at moments, but like that just felt something so simplistic. Just felt very like, why couldn't they just bust through the door or like just walk in?
Yeah, and I will say too, most of the people are CG. I don't know if they mocapped or what, but like Tej, and when he does his basically face cam talking thing, he's CG. He's not real. But obviously he was real in some way. But Mia is real. They probably had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, after a day of shooting, say, "Hey, don't take that off. Just say these lines into the camera. Stand very
I wonder if they
still."
sign separate contracts or have some sort of deal for like the amount of like. I feel like I would do that if I was an actor and I knew I was going to be used in if I was an actor I know I was going to be used in a ride, I feel like I would try to get like separate contract. Be like, okay, I want 1% of all the profits of that ride each day.
Yeah,
like even 1% would be money.
Yeah,
because you're talking at least like, because what, you pay $150 sometimes to get into like these things, and they do the easy
in the
pass,
parks. Yeah,
after all that, like, I don't know. Obviously, you can't count for each ride, but like, I would just think about like, man, you're talking about like at least a couple $100 a day.
Yeah, this is Universal, and I'm sure those parks don't really make a whole lot of money, to be honest. Hobbs shows up and gets the FBI guy to leave. Dom then tells the riders directly that it's gonna be okay. They then descend back into the ground. The ride takes off again into a tunnel.
Yeah, like they left and then come back immediately.
Yeah. Owen Shaw attacks the ride, but Dom slams his car and the ride takes off. The ride leaves the tunnel and Letty grapples the ride to her car, and Owen Shaw is in pursuit. This is very brief and quick. Honestly, most of the ride is the not fun part. Letty gets onto a crane and plucks Owen Shaw's truck up and tosses it, killing him like instantly. Then Dom jumps and grabs a helicopter that's really tiny. If he's able to,
it was like video game, like Mario kind of level of tiny too. Like it was like, is this the same unit? Like, is this from something else? Like,
yeah.
Just such a wacky. Whole thing was wacky.
Yeah. Everyone uses NOS to jump really far, and we land in a tunnel and immediately stop the brakes. Everyone says goodbye, and that's that. And then presumably the people leave and get a hot dog somewhere,
or churro or something.
Yeah. It's so weird. The only piece of trivia I have for this, real quick, is that a commercial for it aired during the 2015 Super Bowl. So,
I also got an ad for. I wonder if it's the same one I watched on my Blu-ray of Furious 7. Like it was like the first
probably
ad being like, go experience the Fast and Furious ride. Blah 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 blah.
There's a poster for it, like a movie poster for it, with Dom hanging from the helicopter as really excited people look on from a bus. Yeah, I mean, I like rides. I like theme parks. I like mainly as just a like, hey, I'm walking into a created space. That's why I like video games so much. My appreciation, I feel like, for theme parks comes from video games, where I'm like, I could be playing a Zelda game and I walk into the Fire Temple and you see all the environment around you, and level design stuff is 100% what they do in theme parks when they're building these spaces. So like, I like that aspect. I like the idea that they like built, the Toretto side garage or whatever that isn't the real garage, but like a Toretto garage, and like I think that's really cool to be like, hey, they made this space. The ride is mostly the car pretending to be driving while it's sitting next to a giant screen. Yeah,
it isn't like some rides where you're on a rail system. It doesn't look like.
Yeah, it's just sits there. I mean,
I'd
definitely
much rather it be a
moves
rail
a bit.
with like screens than.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man and Universal was kind of like what that was, but I remember that being a lot better looking than that, where it's the whole thing, like, because you're putting on glasses and shit too, so like maybe that helps. But yeah,
Reminds me
I
of
guess I
the
was
Toy
kind of-
Story ride in Disney World,
was kind
but
of-
it's more of a game.
yeah, I was kind of disappointed, I guess, with watching it. Like if let's say like we went and only went to that, like
Oh man,
that would have been brutal.
yeah.
Like, someone in
Yep.
the comments wrote the better part of the ride is seeing the cars, like sitting like while you're waiting in line. Like that
Yeah.
was cooler than the actual ride
Yeah.
itself. I mean, I
Yeah.
will appreciate, I'll at least give them a positive for like getting the actors to come back and like do some lines,
Right.
Because some rides don't do that. I just recently went to Disneyland in Los Angeles, and it's the first time I've been to a theme park in 10 years, I think, at this point. 2011, yeah, so 10 years. I went to the Star Wars, I went to that and whatnot, and, they don't have the actual actors come back, or they make a new character. Went to the Indiana Jones, and, like, it wasn't, like, you could tell it just wasn't Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
it's not the same. So, like, at least I'll give them credit for doing that they had him come back, read some lines. Even
Yeah.
The Rock came back, having him come back I think is significant.
Yeah.
But the ride
Yeah.
itself just seems just a little wacky and like kind of not Fast and Furious at moments. I think it's bad, but like just kind of like I was expecting something different. Like I thought
didn't get very good
I thought you'd be
reviews.
in a car itself on a rail,
Right.
going through
But-
like a set.
Yeah.
Maybe you have some screens like you had there, but it was used in just a different way. It just felt like you were sitting in a movie theater.
The guy that designed this, and I forgot his name, says this was like the worst decision of his career. Was
Oh my God.
the writing of this ride? Yeah, it was panned very poorly. It replaced a lot of. It had to replace. That space isn't infinite in theme parks. They had to replace stuff. It replaced rides that were similar, but people say were better at doing the thing that this did, and all that stuff. So yeah, no, not a highlight. You can it's very cheap compared to the movies, cheap CG stuff where it just feels very wacky, and it just is what it is. But
Yeah. Maybe,
like
maybe
you said,
maybe
if
they
we
should update it.
went for a whole bunch of other things and we also went there to see that too, it wouldn't be as disappointed. I don't know how long the wait is, but
Yeah. I mean, I imagine waiting in line for 90 minutes and then doing that.
oof. Yeah. Well, those are those three things. Now let's talk about them in more detail and rank them on our list.
How are
So
we going to rank a music? I mean, the music video.
We
makes
will
more
talk
sense,
about it.
But
I want to say our rankings first before we talk. How I want to do this, because this is the first time in a while where we've done. This is the first time ever where we've done three things. We've done a couple episodes where we had two things we ranked, just like November's episode where we did Riddick Blindsided and Riddick itself. We have three things here. I'm going to read the ranking list once. And then after each one, I will slot in and we'll say kind of the surrounding areas
doing
for
the
it.
movie ranking first.
We'll do movie ranking. So we have two rankings. We have movie ranking and Vin Diesel's performance ranking. So the movie ranking is as follows. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy. I forgot that we ranked that number 1. Wow.
Yeah.
Number 2, Saving Private Ryan. Number 3, Fast 5. Number 4, Fast and Furious 6. Number 5, Triple X. Number 6, The Fast and the Furious. Number 7, The Iron Giant. Number 8, Riddick. Number 9, Awakenings. Number 10, Fast and Furious. Number 11, A Man Apart. Number 12, Find Me Guilty. Number 13, Boiler Room. Number 14, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 15, Pitch Black. Number 16, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Number 17, Knockaround Guys. Number 18, The Video Game Wheelman. Number 19, The Pacifier. Number 20, Babylon AD. Number 21, Los Bandoleros. Number 22, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. Number 23, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. 24, Multifacial. Number 25, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. Number 26, Strays. And number 27, Riddick, Blindsided. That is the movie ranking list. Let's talk about Furious 7. Now, this is very easy for us whenever we do a franchise to think about that franchise itself and kind of where we think it fits in there. You know, our top ones, we have Fast 5, then Fast and Furious 6, then the original, then the fourth one, then the third one, and then somewhere far below that would be the second one if Vin Diesel was in it, and we ranked it for this thing. Personally, for me, I don't know if you feel super strongly one way or the other. I kind of like 5 and 6 better than this one.
Agreed. I mean,
I feel like this one struggles, but it is what it is.
Definitely one of the better ones compared to like the first 4. Like I'd put it above the first 4, but 5 and 6, I think we just have more fun with. I mean, I just think it's tough because I think Paul Walker dying changed this film's plot and story. Not saying that I think it's bad because of it, but just I think they were going a different direction, and it kind of shows at moments. But I feel like they did the right thing and, giving him a send-off rather than ignoring it or killing off his character. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just like Fast 5 and Fast and Furious
6. Fast 5 is a perfect movie. I still stand by that's the best one. And then Fast and Furious 6.
Also The Rock, remember. Like, The Rock is in this less.
True.
I think that impacts it a little bit, too, for me.
Yeah, which is probably a shitty thing for Vin Diesel to hear.
No, it's I'm saying The Rock, when The Rock's in it, I mean, we're gonna revisit Furious 8, which is I think that was the one that we started having a conversation about doing a Vin Diesel podcast, if I remember correctly. It was around Fast and Furious 8 because we're like, wait, everyone shits on Vin Diesel as an actor, and like none of these movies he's really bad in, but then like this movie he's like we thought he was good in. We'll see. We're gonna revisit it soon. But
in
like
a few months.
Outside of that, like, yeah, this movie just felt like kind of not a step back necessarily in the franchise, but just like it's good, it's there, but I prefer the other ones more.
Yeah. I feel like just coherently the story makes more sense in Furious 6, Fast and Furious 6 rather. The camaraderie of the team feels like it fits better in Fast and Furious 6. This feels like it's more serious of a story of like we're all being hunted. And we're in a world much larger than our own. We stumbled into it in the last one, and now we're being, I feel like they think the poster has the tagline "Vengeance hits home," so it definitely feels less fun because of that. The stunts are awesome. They really did drop those cars out of the plane. I don't think they drove the cars through the buildings. I feel like that would kill a lot of people. But it's just more, and it's good. It's not better. It's just more.
Yeah.
So
I'll say the stunts are better than some of the earlier movies for sure. Some of the stunts are better than some of the other movies we have on this list. The set pieces are all good. The locations are all cool and different.
I like that they still managed to sneak in a street race and NOS.
Yeah.
The NOS is very brief. Very, very brief. And they sneak it in like right at the end of the movie, it feels like. But there's a street race like at the beginning, which is cool. Like, they still keep, like, this is not a Justin Lin movie. Remember, this is James Wan. I think that was his name. James Wan. So it's a different tone from a different director, taking an unfortunate circumstance, a gigantically tragic event, and trying to make something out of it. And it ended up being the best performing movie of the whole series by a good chunk. It's higher than F8 by a good chunk. Like, the entire first movie is not enough to make, if you were to add that box office to F8, still not enough to make F8 overcome F7, which is insane. But yeah, no, I mean, like, this then I feel like I'm in the same boat as you are. I like Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6 more than this. The original one is a classic.
I also think the ending of this movie, like in terms of like the ending boss fight, if you want to call it that, like the ending set piece, like the drone, I just thought was boring. because I feel like I've seen so many movies with drones and shit like that. Like
it falls a bit flat.
Yeah, so it doesn't hit as hard as, if anything, like the mountain part was better, and that was in the middle of the movie. Like that to me, like I feel like most Fast and Furious movies have a only a crescendo, and then that's it. Like there is no peak and then down in terms of action or like a big fight of some sort. So that's my one other disappointing thing I can think of right now.
No, you're 100% right. That plane sequence at the end of Fast Furious 6 is probably as long as the entire city chase scene stuff at the end, and it just feels so much better and more fun. Our ending city scene has spots where we have to leave characters on the ground with nothing to do. Roman and Tej got out of that car when they traded to Letty. I don't know what they did after that. I think that's it for them. They give Brian something to do.
The big safe scene,
right?
Like,
and that's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome as fuck.
Then the next one, we're gonna get fucking zombie cars.
Yeah. Oh, and the driving on the ice, being chased by a fucking submarine.
Yeah.
And it's. Well, I don't want to rank this movie based off our expectations of what we remember of F8.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
I agree with you.
The rest of the franchise,
this feels like a low.
For being one of the better ones, the ending fight
Yeah.
thing, whatever you want to call it, isn't as... Like, I think they were relying a lot on Vin Diesel versus Jason Statham being, like, the hype thing, and it just, like, it's fine.
Yeah. Which makes me more accepting of the fact that he isn't going to be... like, he's like a good guy, in quotes, now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, his story was just simply he's out for revenge because they fucking, like... basically put his brother in a coma. You know what I mean? They assumed they killed him. So, like, in their eyes, they killed him. You know what I mean? Regardless of if his brother was a bad person, which he was. You know what I mean? He is there to avenge his brother. He's not even trying to steal the God's Eye. The God's Eye had nothing to do with him. It was the other...
Yeah.
It was Mose and all that stuff. He wasn't trying to do anything bad besides kill the people that put his brother in the hospital. But yeah, like I said, he has like 17 lines in the movie, so he doesn't really have a whole lot to say or do, but a part of his appeal is he's here for business. He doesn't give a fuck. His brother talks a whole lot. He's not, which I think is cool. I definitely think, though, that the acting overall and like the action stuff puts this movie above the very first movie for me. I think like, this is a better movie than the original. The original is a classic. It will remain a classic. I own it twice in two different steelbook forms.
Paul Walker, like when he was, I forget like how young all of them look.
Yeah,
like even Vin Diesel looks 10 years younger in that movie. Like maybe the last 10 years, I feel like he hasn't aged, but like from 2000 Vin Diesel to 2015 Vin Diesel, he's aged, and it's just kind of funny, like seeing young Paul Walker. He has that like early 2000s haircut, and then Vin has just looks like just a little bit like a skinnier kid. You know what I mean? Not a kid, but you know what I mean. Just definitely fits more of that like I'm a street guy. Don't mess with me kind of dude. Now he's like a family guy who has ties to the military or wherever.
Who knows? It's Vin Diesel but with money, as opposed to Vin Diesel but without money. I think we both agree this is better than The Fast and the Furious, which logically means that the lowest it can be is number 6 on our list here. To reiterate, Guardians of the Galaxy, Saving Private Ryan, Fast 5, Fast 6, and Triple X. I would say that this is still better than Triple X. I personally would slot this at number 5. Do you strongly feel against that idea? Do you think Triple X is a better movie than this?
I've seen Triple X, and I just have like a love for that film because of like it's just the right amount of cheese and goofy action. If anything, that ride was closer to Triple X than Fast and Furious in my eyes in terms of its ridiculousness of like Vin on a helicopter that looks super small and coming out of the ground. So like I don't know, but I think it is better. But I still had to think about it just a little bit because I do like that movie a lot. Triple X, I think it's just a fun, goofy, early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean it's still up there. You know what I mean? It's still. I mean, it's a classic. The fact that it got a sequel starring Vin Diesel. After Vin Diesel Mania really kicked off. is a good indicator of that original movie's cult classic. But I feel like it's safe to put Furious 7 above it. Furious 7 is our new number 5 on our list. Top 5 movies are contained 3 Fast movies, and it goes 7, 6, 5. Saving Private Ryan, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now let's put Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again, in here. This is pretty low because it is what it is. Nothing's interesting about it.
I mean, my question is it better than Blindsided?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Highly better
yeah.
produced.
I thought Blindside was boring. To be honest,
what happens.
And the Blindside was just a repeat of a scene in the movie, just a little bit differently. This is at least more of a tribute type of thing, and granted, it's reusing old scenes. Blindsided reused lines. I'm
more likely to watch that music video specifically, not even just listen to the song. Watch that music video again than Blindsided.
For sure.
I didn't even remember Blindsided
sure.
exists until you just read it. Until I looked at it again.
Yeah.
So, and then
it's at least higher than Blindsided.
I will like we've made make jokes about See You Again many times, so it has much more of an impact on us, I guess, for either comedic or personal reasons than Blindsided did.
Now, Blindsided was our 27th. It was our lowest. Technically 28 because of Fury 7 knocked it down. Right above that is Strays, the Vin Diesel produced, directed, written, funded film. That's bad. It's not a great movie. Do we think that this is better than that? And I want to just say no.
Me neither, because we're debating a movie versus a 3-minute music video where people just stand around cars.
Yeah.
There's actually more going on in Strays, plot-wise and cinematography-wise.
Regardless of if it nails anything. You know what I mean? If
and
Strays nails what it does.
Really in not all of it, but most of it in this music video are pulled from Furious 7.
So does that technically mean it's better? Because if it's pulling good scenes?
I don't know. But
no.
When Strays is all, everything is there. It's not pulling from anything else. So, I mean, I think no.
Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again, is our new second to last.
Sorry, Wiz.
Unfortunately.
Hey, you're still
the bottom.
In top
30. Yeah, you're in the top 30. Last but not least, I think, Fast and Furious Supercharged, this ride.
I can't believe we're even ranking this.
I will say this, it's definitely going to be like low. Do we think I think it's worse than the video games. I feel like it doesn't have a story, really.
I had expectations going into that. Not big, but just hey.
Something to be entertaining, and it's not.
The pros are they got the actors back. That's cool. Pros that this exists because maybe, it is a big franchise, but when you think about it, was that something you'd expect at Universal? I don't know. But cons are it wasn't we watched that on YouTube and we're disappointed. Imagine standing in line, paying money, not just to see that.
Forever
You're going to go to Universal, you're going to see multiple rides, but still, if you didn't get the Easy Pass or whatever you call it there, even with the Easy Pass, I still would be damn, I waited 10 minutes in line for this. I sat next to someone who asked, "Is it scary for this?" In the video, I remember the guy's "Is it scary?" It's bruh.
Are you stupid?
I gave he was joking,
so dark.
But come on.
You're a moron. I will say an easy thing to kind of compare this to, as being a thing part of a franchise, and this is a tiny little snippet thing, is Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury, which was the animated short film that kind of was just I think
Strays is better than this.
Really? Okay, well then that makes it even easier, because I was going to say, do we debate this? Because I was going to say I like Dark Fury better than this. But if you're just jumping straight to Strays still being better than this, then I feel like this. Okay, so then we have to argue
in that.
Yeah, the acting was very phoned in for this. Mia basically did a paid for that service cameo.
Yeah,
That's what that was.
the four cameo.
You know, Tej wasn't even real.
Tej wasn't even real. He was fake.
None of them are really real. They were all, CG.
Like,
so
I appreciate the
it was
effort.
really-
It's more of like a play, really. But Strays,
but
it just
most of the time
Strays is a
wasn't
better
the reason
plot.
you're there.
Strays is a better plot. And I don't even really remember the plot, but I remember it having. It's better than that.
Yeah, no.
Strays is the one where they're all like, he has the shitty.
They sell drugs.
They sell drugs.
He has shitty friends, and he has no purpose in life. But he meets a girl. You know what I mean? But then she lies at the end or whatever it's about her. Strays is better than this. So then we have to argue between our three least loved children: Riddick Blindsided, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again, and Fast and Furious Supercharged. Is this better than the music video?
No, I think the music video is better.
Is this better than Riddick Blindsided?
I mean, it sucks because we don't get to go there and like experience it. Because maybe the bus feels like I'm on a bus, but it looks like a standalone thing where it just.
For me, it all depends on what I ate before or what I think we're going to do afterwards. That's how I am with that stuff.
The Wiz Khalifa video is much more digestible, much less time investment to pay off.
Or will we see this ride again? Will we watch the music video
If we ever go
again?
there, then yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot and see if my
Yeah.
opinion changes on it. But I'd rather listen to this song 10 times than you can listen to the song 10 times while waiting in line to go to that.
And I feel like that's the big thing, is the fact that you have to wait in line for this. It's just okay and it's boring. The effort you need to make to experience this is a lot more costly than the effort it would make to
Not
watch
just
the
time,
music video.
but money. Like both of those things.
Right.
YouTube is free. At most, you watch an ad that's maybe 30 seconds. You press skip ad, and then
Yeah.
you say,
Now, granted, we watched this on YouTube and it was boring, but it would also be more boring to spend that time.
yeah. Like I didn't hate.
It's lower
I didn't
than
hate
the music video.
I didn't necessarily hate the ride, but it was kind of like, damn, that's the ride.
Yeah. Is this better or worse than Riddick Blindsided, which is our lowest?
Yes, I think it's at least better.
I asked
because there's
okay.
actors in this. This wasn't
Fair.
just straight scenes cut from another thing and then animated.
Fair.
There's
Fair.
the actors from the cast are in it. They at least kind of tried. There's some goofy, wacky shit that I guess I kind of dig if I have to be positive about it. But like I said, it just sucks overall because it just seems very quick. Long wait time for something that's super quick. The experience itself doesn't seem very entertaining. But the Rick Blindside, I was like, this is the movie.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, I didn't think the animation was that good.
Yeah. No.
So both are not good. But I just feel
They're
like
fucking awful.
But Blindsided, I think, at least you get. I feel like you get to see Vin Diesel and the rest of his friends at this thing. Then Blindsided, which is all these characters you really don't care about, animated, and it's like Riddick.
Retconned.
And Riddick is just like all you learn from that is Riddick was getting pussy, and
which again, this is just a scene from the
was about to
movie.
get assassinated, yeah.
This was a slightly animated storyboard for scene from the movie. This was a sneak peek. This was basically we don't have time to make a trailer or film the scenes. Woof. Yeah, okay, so we have our top 30 now. I'm not going to read the whole thing
put
again.
One in the top 5 and then put 2 in the bottom
in the bottom 5.
Bottom 3.
Yeah. Woof. Let's talk about Vin Diesel's performance. I'm going to take a big old swing before I read off 27 names. I meant to say swig. I don't know if I said swing. Fuck it, I'm going into the swinging. For the Vin Diesel's performance ranking for these, number 1 is Triple X. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, Fast and Furious. Number 4, Find Me Guilty. Number 5, Fast and Furious 6. Number 6, Riddick. Number 7, A Man Apart. Number 8, Fast 5. Number 9, The Pacifier. Number 10, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 11, Babylon AD. Number 12, Los Bandoleros. Number 13, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 14, Boiler Room. Number 15, Multifacial. Number 16, Pitch Black. Number 17, Knockaround Guys. Number 18, Strays. Number 19, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. Number 20, The Iron Giant. Number 21, Saving Private Ryan. Number 22, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. Number 23, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. Number 24, Wheelman. Number 25, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. Number 26, Riddick Blindsided. And number 27, Awakenings. Furious 7, Vin Diesel's performance. What did you think?
I feel like this is a pretty... Despite Paul Walker dying and knowing the personal impact that had on him and the rest of the crew and whatnot, and like scenes where he's with Paul Walker, or I guess not Paul Walker, but like the character and what that means to the franchise and to him, I feel like he did I think he did I think he did good in all his stuff. There's no bad scenes I think he had. If anything, knowing that he had to work with different actors and not working with Paul Walker himself and whatnot. And it goes with all the actors that, they did a good job of selling it and whatnot. But I wasn't like blown away by his performance, but I didn't have to be necessarily for this film. He didn't surprise me a second time going through this. I don't think he steals the show. I also don't think he tries to shine. That's or take the spotlight away from who should really be the spotlight, which is Paul Walker's character. I think he does a good job of giving that space, but that's more of on the writing. But he also did produce this to a certain extent, so I'm sure he had a say in how that went.
For sure.
For sure. You got to remember that part of it. So overall, I think he did good. I don't think he like I said, stole the show, but I didn't want him to. So I think you got to give him, a great rating for that. It's kind of hard to say good or great because it's just my expectations are the same for all these movies, and he's been at the kind of the same level every single time. The only one where he kind of stole the show is the first Fast and Furious movie, and then maybe you can argument for the fourth one and whatnot, where he kind of, I think, exceeded. He had some good scenes where he was selling emotions well and whatnot.
The character of Dominic Toretto, has been pretty much the same type of just trajectory. Nothing from this really changed my opinion on how he performs his character. There's still some of that, wise sayings in seemingly ill-fitted times where it's a little, suspending disbelief.
There were some
really, you're going to say this now?
That were said, he said, time to unleash the beast, he says at one point, and I almost use that as one of the quotes. But that's more on the writing, and I guess you can fault him a little bit. That's the only line I can think of where I'm like, that was weird. But whatever. It's already a goofy movie at this point, because that was right before they jumped out of a building. So
I don't think he really interacted with motherfucking Kurt Russell all that well. But again, I understand it's the character and blah blah blah, but I feel like this is a guy, Vin Diesel, person that loves legacy actors and, the idea of being one of them, and here you got Kurt Russell, and I just felt like it was a wasted opportunity on Vin Diesel's part to not impart some of what he probably feels inside about being able to work with Kurt Russell into the character a bit. Who I feel like Kurt Russell stole the show a bit more than any of the other people. Not that he was in too much of it, and not that he did too many crazy things, but it just felt effortless for him in scenes where I feel like, people were definitely acting for sure. Oh, if I were to compare this to the other Fast and Furious movies, Fast and Furious is a classic, and he stole the show, and that's the reason why he became top billing after the fact, right? He wasn't top billing in the first movie. It was Paul Walker. He was top casted. Fast and Furious, a.k.a. the fourth movie, he really did sell the emotions very well. There was scenes where him and Paul Walker fought, and I feel like he sold that very well. And even the goofy Batman detective vision mode where he's Sherlock Holmesing the crime scene, that felt earnest and more real. And when he beats Brian to the race by cheating in that movie because he's not playing around, he needs to do this, I felt that more. Fast and Furious 6, he stepped into the background a bit more to let other people shine through, but there was still some of the stuff from Fast 4 with Letty coming back into his life that made it more than what Fast 5 had done, where he really was in the background. That was more of a Paul Walker, Mia having a baby, do we want this life type of scenario.
Yeah.
But then also the other, like bringing the whole crew together, making sure everyone shines. I would say that this is less than Fast and Furious 6, but more than Fast 5. Because Fast 5, to me, is more of, he really is just in the background. Here, there's at least still some of the scenes with Letty, him still trying to jog her memory and all that stuff, regardless of how much is in there. He has a little bit of heart-to-heart stuff with Paul Walker, who wasn't there, so it's not too explored as much as it could have been.
The monologue at the end, I think, was good, and that was like real shit that we've gotten from him in the last. There's been other movies where he's been, he has to play a character that's sad or whatever, but like that's like real Vin Diesel, and he put that in the movie. I think you gotta give credit to that because he easily could have just played Dominic Toretto there, and like no, that's Vin Diesel talking like at the end, and I think that is an important part. So that's why I feel like this one's a little bit higher because of just that ending. But no, I agree with everything you're saying for sure. Because I'm trying to think, when's the last time we had like a real like monologue that I think came from his personal heart? And honestly, you might have to go all the way back to like Multifacial or Strays.
Yeah.
Like he's done great monologues. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying in terms of like seeing. His own personal life into the scene, which just I think gives it just a little bit more extra juice. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And sometimes there's people who do this all the time and that doesn't work, but he knows when to use it, I think, successfully. The more I think about it.
So then, are you with me on placing this in between 6 and 5? Or do you want to put this above 6? I still feel like 6 has more of that Dom Letty stuff going on.
I'm thinking maybe
that really
below
made
5,
that.
because 5 isn't. I'm trying to remember now. 5 is the. That's where the vision is, right? No, I'm trying.
That's 4. That's 4.
I'm trying to remember now what.
What do you mean? What do you mean by the vision? I guess
where he sees
the crash scene.
Yeah,
that was Fast and Furious, the 4th one. 5, he was really just like another member of the key team. He was the leader, but he didn't really have too many important scenes with anyone. He had the scene where he talks to Brian about being fathers, or their fathers rather, and about him becoming a father. And then there's that scene I remember with Elena in her house. And then there is that like just random scenes with him in The Rock. But other than that, he really was just in the background for the movie, which is similar to this one. But this one has, I think, a little bit more from him. That's why, for me personally, it is in between Fast and Furious 6 and Fast 5. You kind of with me there?
Yeah, no, I just had to remember.
Okay. So then in between those two movies, so Fast and Furious 6 is number 5, then it's Riddick, A Man Apart, and then Fast 5. I liked Riddick more in his acting. A Man Apart, I struggle to remember.
Smoking a cigarette on a beach. He has a scene where he actually cries.
True.
And it looks like he's actually crying. Because we don't ever get
But he says a very tearful goodbye. Not tearful, but, the ending for this. I don't know.
Man Apart,
Let's just delete the rankings.
I think it's better than Man Apart in terms of its stunts that he did, too.
True.
It's tough, because The Man Apart was, just a kind of like a XXX level of, just a different type of action hero movie where he's much more of a anti-hero kind of. I mean, not saying he isn't, I guess, in this, but they make him more out to be a hero in these films than in A Man Apart, where A Man Apart, he's no, he's doing shit that he probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But
I like his performance in Riddick is still better. than this one. But at the same time, you know, like, I struggle to remember a bunch about A Man Apart. I just remember the movie as a whole being just fine. It's like almost in the middle of the pack for our movies ranking list. It's number 12. But at the same time, like, I don't really remember a lot of the Vin Diesel performance stuff about it. I will probably always remember the ending to this movie and some of the stuff he says in this movie to Letty and to Brian. But I could go either way.
Let's put it above it then. Just because I think we have to give some. I think the ending and, like, where he's talking to the character, I think is like his homage, I guess, to Paul Walker, not Brian O'Connor, Paul Walker. You know what I mean? So like, and I feel like too, since he produced it and whatnot, we have to give him a little bit more credit than A Man Apart in that sense, because
sure.
That
ending could have been his decision.
Yeah.
For all we know, like, he
and
definitely had.
And if he did that decision and it was bad, let's say people didn't like it, found it distasteful, like, that would fall on him to a certain extent. You know what I mean? So, and he is also the face of the franchise. So there's some pressure there as well to, like, this got to be good and in good taste for this to be.
This got to be good.
So I feel like the pressure was higher on this movie in that regard, and I feel like he did what he needed to do and some.
And he's handsome.
I think he's more handsome in A Man Apart.
Beggars can't be choosers.
I like
I don't know
bearded
why I
Vin,
said that
actually.
phrase.
But
Really?
never brings it out. But
I
we'll
don't
get
like
it in the
bearded
last
Vin.
Witch Hunter, I think. We'll get more bearded Vin.
Probably. Well, that's Furious 7 is now number 7. Hey, how nice. How nice for that.
Last, though.
Yeah. Well, we're coming into some other big movies in the future, so it is possible that it could be knocked out of 7. Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again. Do you want to just put that, like, at the bottom?
Honestly,
he's in a couple random scenes.
It's above Awakenings, because it's always going to be above Awakenings, just because.
Last month, we challenged Saving Private Ryan for number 1, and Guardians of the Galaxy prevailed, and that was a long-standing spot. I feel like, as you pick your nose, we could challenge Awakening's lowest ranking spot for Vin Diesel, just to humor the idea. You know what I mean? Tell me why you think Awakenings is lower than Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again, in terms of Vin Diesel's performance in it.
So they're both so. You're talking about chunks from another movie where Vin is acting well for his character.
True.
Versus a point where you wouldn't, if you didn't tell anybody it was Vin Diesel, you wouldn't have known it was Vin Diesel. And would you even call that acting?
Does Vin Diesel say anything in this movie?
I could have put you in that
video?
shot, the same shot where he was in Awakenings. I could put you in
yeah,
that
and then
same
look
shot.
at the illustrious career I would have had because of me being in this
I'm
film.
just saying, you could open that gate too.
I could have also had random footage of me pop in a Wiz Khalifa video too.
But it wouldn't be good.
You don't know that.
If you popped up in that music
fair.
video, like, why is this white boy here?
Fair.
That's my argument. Is like,
And when you said that, you're talking about Charlie Puth because I deserve to be there. He doesn't say anything in any of those scenes that they use. They're all basically just kind of like
stills,
almost stills in a sense, right?
But he still has more screen time. So by default, I feel like that wins because he has more screen time.
Quality over quantity, my friend. He actually does something meaningful for the purpose of the movie in Awakenings.
He does something meaningful in the music video. Him being there with Paul Walker, his brother, which is what the whole song's about. If he's not in it, it just feels weird.
Okay. I just wanted to challenge this.
Well, guess what? The next one might be challenging it as well.
Fast and Furious Supercharged. Wiz Khalifa is second from the lowest now.
Oh, by the way, was I was gonna say, is it above Blindside? No, I don't think it should be. Okay. This one.
Fast and Furious Supercharged, I feel like his performance in it, honestly, worse than Blindsided. Because his lines are corny. They're like one take feeling. I will say this: the parts in the ride where people are just talking to a camera that they show on like the little bus screens or whatever are better acted than whatever stuff he says for the ride. That's saying something, right? Blindside, at the very least, took shit from the movie, which was acted well enough. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember what he said in the ride. I mean, he yells shit.
To be fair, we just watched this, 2 hours ago? And
he yells shit.
2.5 hours ago?
It's hard for me to, because he's, yelling and stuff, and in Blindsided, he does his lines from the movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of Also,
okay,
my
well, if we
expectations
think
for
about
a ride
that,
is going to be lower than expectations for something from the movie, which is then cut into this thing. So it's kind of hard to.
We need to put it on a spot. Did he produce
this ride in any way? Did he have any?
Probably no, probably not.
Because I think that'd be a little bit different. But both are awful, to be honest. I'm kind of leaning above Blindside just because Blindside was taken straight from something else he did. But I don't know. My expectations were higher in the ride, I guess. But also they weren't that high either, but he still didn't hit them, I don't think. But no one really did because the ride kind of just was...
Devin, this is what the poster for the ride is. What do you feel when you look at that?
for audio,
and how let down
for all the audio
are you?
Listeners, it's him on the helicopter that definitely is too small to fit a human being in, or maybe one person, but it's
you'd have to be laying down.
It's like a Shinji and an Ava kind of situation. You got to be laying down in a pod or something. I mean, I guess the advertising isn't totally wrong. That does happen. But it's just Fast and Furious, and you're knowing he's in it. I don't know. It's so hard to gauge. I'm fine putting it below Blindsided, but I can hear an argument above it. But it's definitely not as good as Escape from Butcher Bay. And I can't believe I said that sentence like that.
What about
not
the music
as good
video?
as Escape from Butcher Bay?
What about the music video?
I think it's better than the music video because he's only stills in this.
Okay, we have it. There we have it. Our top 30 for both of them. And hey, what do you know? Furious 7, top of the pack-ish. The other two things, second and third from the lowest still.
For both pretty consistently at the bottom of both.
They just swapped which one was second and which one was third.
And I think this also shows that if Vin's bad at it, most likely it's going to be bad in the movie ranking.
Fair enough. All right. This has been a very fun and entertaining episode of the Chronicles of Diesel, a monthly podcast, as you all know. This has been a big, long haul. This is the only one on the docket that is 3 things to rank and review. So, yes, very, very involved. Next month on the Chronicles of Diesel, we're going to actually be talking about the 2015 film, The Last Witch Hunter, which may or may not get another sequel in the future, as well as the Diesel, which is a Dungeons & Dragons kind of short mini one-shot experience starring Geek and Sundry and Critical Role people. Kind of like promotion for The Last Witch Hunter, but it was his own thing and he's credited in it. And I saw a little bit of it, and I know it's at least interesting enough. So we're going to be watching that for February's episode. Stay tuned. If you want to know what, if you want to share what your thoughts on Furious 7 was, and do we think that it is ranked accordingly, let us know on Twitter. @Sonic Movie Show is our handle, because the Sonic Movie Show is our main podcast that we do every single week. We've been talking about upcoming movies and video games for the year, which is exciting. I'm on Twitter @EthanAbsolutely, and Devin is on Twitter @CursonaFun. Have a good month, folks. I am tired. A good year. Happy New Year. It's January 1st.
Shit.
It's 2022.
Fuck.
Yeah. Theoretically, our show will be all caught up this year. On the docket. Yeah. I mean, on the docket, our last new episode would be November.
We're almost there, baby. We almost did it. It's crazy. I feel like we just started the show last week, but then, fuck, another year. I'm old.
insane.
Vin's
but
getting
there's
older.
other things we'll be doing for the show as well, other opportunities to explore.
Getting
Yeah,
old
we will
with Vin.
see you next month. Have a good one, and remember,
Eat your damn veggies.
Vin Diesel.
Oh.
Oh, that's
Show
a
me
good
the
one
damn
too.
veggies.
Goodbye, and I'll see you again.
What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.